In three, two, one. We are live. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, everyone in India. We are here for the big day. It is the closing ceremonies, the championship round of the Together mission, Together 5.0. Special treat this morning. Chris woke up and had lost his voice just a little bit. So I'm drinking lots of tea, and you're going to get a little bit of a raspier version of me than normal. But I'm here with all my energy to bring you the Together mission alongside my friend, Dr. Prasad from Ekonnect. And we're excited to be here with you today. You know, this is the day that everybody's been working towards for not just a couple of months, but ever since each of these teams had their idea. And on the Schulich student side of things, ever since they started their career and journey academically at Schulich, they've been building up the skills and the abilities to be here and to support their teams. So we're excited to be here in our fifth edition. We have trained more than 1,200 social impact entrepreneurs in India, and it's been a pleasure and a real journey and a story along the way. Dr. Prasad, great to be here with you this morning.
Great. Thank you, Chris. I think you're right. Today is the big day for everybody here. And I really hope that the winners, I would say, are the future unicorns, maybe. And Chris, let's look at that. I mean, these great teams, fantastic business model ideas, I'm sure will be inspiring. Maybe the next together, we'll have some of these people coming and speaking about. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. And let's look at this day as one of the very important, exciting days.
When we met with the top 10 on Friday to announce the top six, which is what we're going to see and hear from today, I told the top 10 that this was the strongest top 10 that we'd had to date in all five editions. And it's a really interesting and exciting group. So yes, there's some real interesting and compelling companies in the group here. We want to take a moment as well to give a shout out and a thanks to our amazing community supporters from the Consulate General of India, one of our very first supporters in Toronto when we had our concept, to our friends at Ekonnect and Dr. Prasad, Startup India, who have been here with us along the way, supporting the entire journey, and the City of Toronto, who you'll meet with today when it's time to announce the winners, and all of our amazing sponsors and partners that help us to put together the prize pool for the companies. We also want to give a shout out, and you're going to hear a little bit more about this just in a moment, but a shout out to the Schulich MBA students from Entrepreneurship 6500 who are part of the whole program, working with the student entrepreneurs from India. They're all in the room today, and they've been hard at work throughout the entire term, preparing for this big moment. And also, I see many of the smiling faces of the mentors, both from Canada and India, here on the Zoom today. And it's amazing to watch how they've been working together and teaming up. A unique part of this program, having that cross-border, round-the-world collaboration between mentors, bringing so much from their experiences in different parts of the world. And with that, I'm excited to welcome our instructor for the course, the Together mission, and our entrepreneur residence at the Schulich School of Business, Chair Rose Tan, to bring her comments and thoughts as we prepare for this big day. Chair Rose.
Good morning, good evening, everyone. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for your excitement, your contributions, your energy this past week with the Together competition. We're so excited to be doing this celebration, this ceremony with all of you. And I think just in terms of some remarks from myself, the team, and obviously all of the people who've been really a part of this experience with the competition this year. I feel like it was such an incredible experience. And I think one of the things that I want to share on my side is that, especially for Chris and myself and our team at Schulich, we had so many exciting moments. And so, this week there was so much amazing programming that was happening with the competition, but there's also been so much hard work that's been really put into this experience. So, for example, I know my MBA students, my Entrepreneurship 6,500 students are here in the room with us. They've been having experience at the Schulich School of Business here on the Toronto campus, where many of them were in our physical classrooms, taking an MBA course and essentially learning a lot about, how to essentially take a pitch deck, learning about the different slides that are essentially necessary to be able to tell a compelling story. And so we had that experience for about 6 weeks. And essentially, a lot of these students, and I know many of you have met them, especially during this week and maybe previous weeks as well with the boot camp and things. Many of these students went in afterwards, right after our in-person sessions, to go and work with so many of the incredible, Indian student entrepreneurs and startups that we got to meet this week. And so it's just been, really exciting to see how people are, all of our different teams, how hard they've worked on their particular startups, on their pitch decks, how they've really been able to iterate and work alongside their mentors and our Schulich students as they, practice their pitches and kind of really strengthen those things. And I also want to say too, a huge acknowledgement as well to so many of the people who've just really supported this competition from, as Chris mentioned, from sponsors all the way to our ecosystem partners to many of the mentors, right, from Canada, India, who've also contributed. And of course, to also our Indian startups, our Indian founders who are part of this competition. I think Dr. Prasad Modak kind of said it best. We're so excited to see what happens today, as, later on when we start announcing the results. And, regardless of what those results end up being, we've been so inspired by so many of the entries that have come forth by your hard work. And so I hope that you can also take this as, I don't know, as a starting point, as a kickoff to your entrepreneurial journey. And we're excited to support you and also keep in touch, not just in this competition, but even moving forward.
Thank you, Cherry, for very inspiring words. And you really summed up very well. Everybody's efforts put together is making, when we say this program together, that means so much. And thank you so much for coming in today and talking about it and your experience over the last 1 week interacting with all the teams. Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Cherry Rose. Next up, we have the opportunity to welcome to the stage David Peters, Provost for York University. And really important to understand that within the context of the work that the Schulich School of Business is doing with this competition, the university has been very much behind us as York University in building it every step of the way with the senior leadership team. And they've been part of also building a beautiful bridge between the university itself and between India, different academic institutions and leaders within the country. So today we're really happy to have Provost David Peters here with us. He holds the dual role, he's a busy man, he holds the dual role of interim provost and also vice president academic at the university and institutional lead dean of record for the School of Medicine Planning. So he's got a lot on his plate, and he's also agreed to join us here on a Sunday morning to spend time with us and share his thoughts. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much, Chris and Prasad. I am really delighted to be joining you from Toronto in advance of the championship finals, and it's really a inspiring collaboration and competition. I first want to acknowledge that York University is located on the ancestral and current home of many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples, including the Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabeg, and Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And at York University, we're really honored to be part of this Together competition. And it exemplifies many of our values, from cultivating the spirit of collaboration and teamwork and fostering connections with prestigious, eminent global partners to empowering students to transform their ideas into action. Now, Indian partnerships are of really great importance to the university, but it's also of great personal and professional interest to me. I have lived in Delhi for years, worked in India continuously over the last 25 years. My area is in health system strengthening and health policy and systems research. The background actually is from my project office in Lucknow. They seem to be doing very well without me, I have to say. But nonetheless, I've came to Canada, to York in 2023 when we moved back. This is the longest time that I have been out of India in the last 25 years. So it's really a pleasure to connect with you today. I have learned so much from collaborations from a wide range of organizations in government, academia, business, and civil society all over the country that I really am inspired by these kinds of events and what they represent. We're living at an age of digital disruption, misinformation, and lots of pressures from uncertainty around the world. Our students are entering a workforce that is increasingly reliant on artificial intelligence and automation, and the skills they require include really high proficiency of cognitive skills, decision-making, and ability to problem solve and adapt to changing environments. That requires a lot of teamwork, a lot of communication, a lot of use of information in new ways. So I would argue that it's never been more critical for our countries and universities to work together to advance these new ideas. The pace and complexity of global challenges requires us to think more broadly and to work more collaboratively to bring together countries, governments, industry, higher education, to nurture, invest, and share talent, resources, and ideas, just like we're doing in this event. This collaboration certainly furthers our academic mission around experiential education, global and community partnerships, and collaborating to address our most important global and local challenges. We're already getting great testimonials about this event. Just one said, "This program is truly remarkable, and I have learned so much about running a business in a very short time." One of our Schulich students shared, "This has been an extraordinary learning experience, offering the chance to connect with brilliant minds from around the world. Together 5.0 really is a glimpse into the future, and being able to engage with such innovative ideas, perspectives so early on is incredibly rewarding. I'm walking away from the competition more motivated and ready to dream even bigger, fueled by a renewed sense of what's already truly possible." Sense of what's truly possible. So, you've already achieved a lot. That's very clear. Reciprocal, mutually supportive partnerships, events like this one really demonstrate what we can do together. So congratulations to all who have participated up till now, and a real special congratulations to the finalists who are going to be competing shortly. Thank you to our partners at Ekonnect, Startup India, and to our own Schulich School of Business for creating the space where entrepreneurial ideas today can grow into the global solutions for tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David, for your words. I must say that having worked with many entrepreneurship programs across the world, yours is unique, and it is truly a very, I call, embedded academic entrepreneurship. And this is a great model and inspiration, I'm going to be sure, for everybody. And I must say that your support to Together 5 is therefore extremely important. And thank you very much today. Like Chris said, showing up in the morning on Sunday to say a few words. Thank you once more.
Thank you, David. And now we'll welcome our next special guest to the stage, a good friend of the Schulich School of Business and York University, and a champion of innovation in Ontario. For those of you in India, one of our largest provinces in the country. And we have a very special group within the province called the Ontario Centre of Innovation. And Hitan Makam is the Vice President, Finance and Operations for OCI. And he's here to share with us his perspective and thoughts on the competition and what's up in his world. Hitan, it's great to see you. Always a pleasure, and thanks for joining us. Oh, you're on mute there, my friend, so I'm going to come off mute.
All right, there we go. Thank you, Chris, and thank you for having me today. Good morning and good evening to everyone. As Chris pointed out, my name is Hitan Makam. I'm Vice President of Finance and Operations for OCI. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about four major points. First of all, just a little recap. I think most of you also know the connection between India and Ontario is incredibly strong, right? 80% of Indian students reside in Ontario. Startups, right? I would say over 90% of startups coming out of India come into the province of Ontario. So Ontario is home to a lot of Indians that are starting up their entrepreneurial businesses here. The Schulich School of Business and the Ontario Centre of Innovation make a strong partnership for several reasons, and I'm going to highlight about 8 of them. First of all, both organizations prioritize innovation. Schulich integrates cutting-edge business practices and theories, while OCI supports technology and research commercialization. Access to resources is incredibly important. Schulich students and faculty can leverage OCI resources, including funding, mentorship, and industry connection, enhancing the entrepreneurial endeavors of these students. Third, talent development. Schulich prepares students with skills in business management, finance, and entrepreneurships, aligning well with OCI's mission to foster innovation-driven talent. Fourth, collaborative projects. Both joint initiatives such as research projects or incubator programs can stimulate real-world business solutions benefiting both the community and the economy. Both organizations have great network opportunities, partnerships that provide students and entrepreneurs access to broad networks of industry leaders, investors, innovators, facilitating valuable connection. Sustainability and social impact are also important. Both institutions emphasize sustainable business practices and social responsibility, aligning with the current trends and responsible innovation. Both organizations also work collaboratively for workshops and events. Events can educate and inspire both students and local business about the latest in technology and innovation, and it's important to have these events on a regular basis. Lastly, strategic location. Being in Ontario, both can capitalize on the province's vibrant startup ecosystem and diverse industry landscape, enhancing collaboration opportunities. Together, Schulich and OCI can drive economic growth and cultivate a thriving innovative system in Ontario. I'd also take a moment to sort of maybe a little bit talk about OCI and what we kind of do. So, as Chris mentioned, OCI is Ontario Centre of Innovation. What we do is, and to recap in a couple of things, we fund and support access to funding programs that help startups and businesses finance research, development, reduce financing barriers for innovation. But primarily, we would fund early seed investors before they're even looking to get seed investment. We provide network opportunities by connecting entrepreneurs with industry experts, investors, academic institutions. OCI facilitates collaboration that can lead to innovation solutions. OCI has, across the province, over 20 business development individuals. These individuals are well tied into the entire ecosystem of Ontario's startup, as well as business communities. And other entrepreneurs will have access to these BD, business development individuals, that will enable them to scale up their companies. Incubation and acceleration. So one of the divisions of OCI is that we have 111, which is an incubation and acceleration program. This is where companies have approximately about $1 million of revenue, and they're now looking to scale up to $10 million or $100 million of revenue. We invite them to join our membership, and then we help them, nurturing them by helping them raise funds, helping them with their pitch decks, helping them with mentorship to scale up. Lastly, research partnerships. OCI fosters partnerships between business and research institutions through various programs. We will provide professors and grad students with grant money at a very early stage to see if an idea that they have could actually get commercialized. OCI has a commitment to empowering entrepreneurs and demonstrating transformative potential of innovation. So I encourage you all to dream big and aim to make a meaningful change. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you, Hiten, so much.
Mm.
I think the OCI support is so inspiring. As you know, in India now, some of the states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Rajasthan also have at the state level a significant support. They're trying to build an ecosystem to help entrepreneurs. So, in this perspective, OCI, according to me, it's a great example to see how to build the innovation ecosystem. And I liked in your speech when you use the words responsible innovation. I love that term. And it's very important that businesses of tomorrow will have to embed sustainability in their thought process. It's not just the revenue, which is important, but what impact the innovation and the companies can make. So thank you once again, Hiten, for coming in and talking about OCI and your partnership, of course, and support to Together 5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hiten. And next, we'll be joined by our next guest. We're moving along nicely on schedule here, so that's great. By the way, if you haven't done so already, please introduce yourselves in the chat, and let's have a nice, vibrant online stream going at the same time as well here today. It's my pleasure next to introduce my friend Chirag Shah, who describes himself as a young technocrat who has rapidly scaled peaks of technological achievements by constantly striving to serve clients beyond their expectations. He's deep in the tech world. He's a vibrant entrepreneur. He's a networker extraordinaire, and he leads a very important organization in the Toronto, Ontario, and Canadian landscape of Indo-Canadian entrepreneurs and technologists doing great things in the world, very welcoming to all of our companies and partnerships as we move along. Chirag, it's great to see you, and I hope many of these companies will one day come to Canada and get to meet you as well in person. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening and good morning, everyone. I think Chris described me very well, but I think most importantly, we are all work together to make sure that we all get a success. So I'm currently serving as a president of Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce. I'm not sure if how many are aware about, but let me give you a little brief about the organization. It's a 47-year-old, established in 1977, and main agenda is to promote the trade between India and Canada. So that is our core. It's one of the oldest organization by the Indo-Canadians, and it's one of the largest organizations. We have around 2+ chapters, and we are planning to expand pan-Canada, currently serving around 1,500+ members. What we do throughout the year, we do various events, obviously in person as well as the online events. We have our main events throughout the year. It's like gala. Then we have the golf tournament, and then we do also in person like a trade talk series and also like a startup events. I think that is more relevant to this topic here. So what I can relate to with this particular crowd is we do whenever we have the various events where for the startups, many startups comes in and we have the people who are with the different categories of the life. They are from the businesses as well as they are the investor. So they connect with them and then directly work with them. So we want to create that ecosystem as well. So we want to kind of provide as a soft landing, whoever comes as a business from India or they want to do the startups over here. Everyone knows India is 1.4 billion and Canada is 40 million. And current trade between India and Canada stands, it's only around $15 billion. It can grow, we can grow it very more, multifold. So that's what we are looking for and looking forward to work with everyone. Once again, thank you so much for providing an opportunity, Chris, and looking forward to working with you guys.
Thank you so much, Chirag. Your chamber, I think, is going to play a very important role for some of these startups as a next stage of collaboration. And this is very exciting that we have you speaking about the chamber today and your vision to make the trade between India and Canada multifold. And this is something which I think is very important to all of us here to see the catalytic role which you are playing at the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for joining with us today.
Thanks again, Chirag. Now, this brings us to the next phase of the morning, of the evening, and we're at the competition. So we're going to have some fun now and get to meet the companies. But first, we'll get to quickly meet our judges, and you'll hear a little bit about them. I think it's important to understand who we have here with us today. So these are our four judges. First up, we have Naaman Badeo, who's a returning judge with the Together Mission. And Naaman is general partner at Antler Canada and has founded multiple businesses in travel technology, including Flight Network and TripStack, and is a great friend of the program. As I mentioned earlier on, I'm keeping my voice here as I woke up with a little bit of losing it this morning. So everyone's not going to get the full 5-paragraph introduction. I'm being very judicious with my words this morning, but welcome, Naaman. Next up, we have Aisha Dash, director with Antler India. So the Indian counterpart to Antler Canada, Antler India, and she's also a returning judge. She's the marketing director at Antler India, and we really enjoyed her time with us last year and her comments for all the students. Previously, Aisha was a part of the leadership team at Unacademy, one of India's top edtech startups, where she helped launch and grow a new skill-based course platform. Welcome, Aisha. We also have a friend of mine from the Indian innovation and venture capital ecosystem for several years now, Ajay Jain, who is the managing partner of Silver Needle Ventures. And Silver Needle Ventures is an early stage technology focused Indian fund and doing amazing work. I get all of his updates and newsletters and all the interesting companies that he's investing in and working with along the way. And I got to meet him early when he had the vision for this, and he's been building it out. And we're excited to have him here with us today as a judge. And that brings us to our fourth judge, Ankur Jain, the founder of Hostel Fund and a real friend as well, the Together Mission. He's been here from day one and has been a judge from day one. I believe, unless you missed one that I've forgotten about, I believe you've been here every step of the way and seen all the companies. So you bring a real amazing touch and perspective to that. And Ankur has over 15 years of expertise in sales, marketing, and business development, and is currently the co-founder and CBO of Sunstone Eduversity, and is responsible for their expansion to new geographies and onboarding new campuses and corporate partners. We have a really amazing, cool panel of judges that are here with us today. Now, for those who are watching and those of you who are tuning into our broadcast today, going live on the school's YouTube platform, but also on the Schulich Startups LinkedIn platform with more than 4,000 and growing followers as we speak. This is how the competition works. Each company of the 6 knows the order that they're pitching in. They have an 8-minute pitch. I will be keeping the time clock to each of the teams. I will be counting you in with a 3, 2, 1, go, so you know that you've actually started. And I'll make sure that you've shared your screen in advance to that, but please be ready for that. And just to let you know that when the time hits, then I will be cutting you off gently but firmly and not extending the time beyond the 8 minutes. The judges will then have 12 minutes to ask questions. I will keep track of the order of the judges and name the judge who's next up for a question. And then while the judges are recording their notes and deliberating personally, then Dr. Prasad and I will have a quick chit-chat on some interesting and different topics that we'd like to explore together to keep everybody entertained while the judges are doing their thing. So that's the process. And with that, we'll get started. And we'll welcome our first team to the stage, Carbine Systems. Okay, and just give me a moment and I'll get my stopwatch ready to go. And we will count you in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello there, everyone. Good morning for those tuning in on one side of the world, and good evening to those on the other. Welcome to Carbine Systems, a deep tech company transforming crop waste into sustainable carbon fibers. There is a huge problem in the quality of air that we breathe. During a recent trip to Delhi, I felt it immediately after getting off the plane. The air is so bad, it's like smoking a whole pack of cigarette every day, which is cutting life expectancy of residents by 12 to 14 years. Thousands of people, especially children, are dying because of air pollution. But what is it that's affecting the air so much? We found one of the major pieces of the problem is the burning of crop waste by farmers. In India, over 500 million tons of agricultural waste is burned every year. This leads to 150 million tons of CO2 emissions, affecting millions of people like you and me. Farmers often don't know what to do with this crop waste, which is why they end up burning it, wasting so much of their potential revenue streams. The lack of a quick and cost-effective solution is still pushing farmers, despite bans, to continue burning, contributing to the polluted air that you and I breathe, that our children and our future generations will continue to breathe. Coming from a small town surrounded by farming villages, we know how hard it is for them. So that's where we come in. We are solving this problem right at the source. We're going to convert this agricultural crop waste into high-strength carbon fiber. We start by sourcing the crop waste directly from the farmers by paying them first so that they have an added stream of income and there is no tension on the farmers. We are setting up micro factories, which using a biofiber process converts it into a high-strength environmental friendly carbon fiber, which is the future of advanced manufacturing. So basically, we are producing a sustainable solution to this problem. But let me tell you why now is the best time to do this. Recent advancements and our own breakthroughs in laser-based material processing have made this so much more accessible for us to scale this efficiently. Also, the focus of industries is shifting towards sustainability, opening the doors for adoption of more sustainable, lightweight materials. And there is already an insane amount of interest gathering for this idea. We started by speaking to aerospace giant Boeing's global CEO at IIT Madras Research Park event earlier this year, where we were able to connect. And he also shared that this business has immense potential. We've also already received letters of intent signed by several manufacturers as listed here. And we have spoken to over 50 farmers across India who are willing to get in on this and start building a relationship with us as soon as we are able to go to market. Coming to market, the market size is huge for this carbon fiber, as it is the future advanced material that will be used across industries, particularly in aerospace, automotive, and energy sector. So our TAM is the global carbon fiber market of $23 billion. A serviceable addressable market looking just at India is of 4.1 billion based on the high demand of carbon fiber in India. Out of this, we are aiming to produce and service 18,000 metric tons, which is currently being imported. So which makes our obtainable market over $1 billion. And this industry is only growing with the CAGR across the world of 25%. And India's is similarly 13%. These markets are growing, and I promise you, you want to get in on this as early as possible, as we'll be taking this to the moon. So coming to our competition, the existing carbon fiber manufacturers produce it from petroleum, which makes the process non-sustainable. There are other businesses doing something similar, but they tend to be very expensive as they're not using crop waste. And we have many advantages in this field. And because we are producing it energy efficient at a lower capex, that too from waste, we have the ability to increase margins and outcompete the other competitors. Coming to our product and where it's made. This is our container size microfactory, which uses a proprietary process and lasers for converting this crop waste into sustainable fibers. So in this machine, we'll be using the agricultural waste as a precursor, which is a very cost-effective alternative. Also, a microfactory can be taken anywhere across India, state to state, through a truck transport and even to other countries by cargo. So there are a number of options to make this technology most accessible to the farmers by our decentralized model. So how do we make money? We start by paying our farmers for the raw material. One of our goals here is to become an additional revenue stream to farmers which incentivizes and motivates them to work with us. So we'll pay them roughly 3,000 to 5,000 rupees for a ton for the raw material like rice husk or wheat straw, which we then put into our machine and produce the fibers. So using this 1 ton of crop waste, we can produce 200 to 300 kgs of carbon fiber, which we are then able to sell for upwards of 1 million rupees. As you can see, we start with the material that we pay around $80 and end up making $16,000 worth of product out of it. So how do we take this to market? Well, by 2025-26, we want to start this by setting up 5 pilot plants in the major agricultural hubs across southern India, which is where we are based. Phase 2, we are looking to expand our carbon fiber brand by acting on those LOIs. We hope to have at least 10 such partnerships and begin producing and supplying carbon fiber for them. Phase 3, we are then working with aerospace companies. This will include brands like GE Aerospace and Boeing, who we have already spoken to. And then phase 4, why limit to India, right? We are trying to take over the industry as a whole, and we hope to scale our operations into North America, South America, as well as other Asian countries, as there is a lot of potential for growth right here in our home continent. So initially, it will take the first 2 to 3 years for us to reach profitability because of the initial capital requirements. But if we do win this today, majority of the funds will be going into our research and development to create these micro factories. As you can see, that is the yellow part of the pie chart above. Part of it will be going into our intellectual property filing because we do want to patent and protect our core tech. Also, we want to put 10% into developing our initial farmer relations. And finally, this is a team that's putting it all together. We're the founders. We are the backbone of the company. So coming from a scientific background, we have put in a lot of work to understand and ensure that we have the expertise to best meet the business needs. And there is nobody that is as passionate about developing sustainable solutions as either of us. Additionally, we have a great team of mentors who have been guiding us along the way, bringing in tremendous business knowledge and experience. So they are now a part of our business, and we hope to use their business and strategic advice to sort of guide us and take our vision even further. So that is all from us here today at Carbine Systems. And once again, it's a tremendous opportunity to join us in building a sustainable future together. Thank you.
Thank you, Carbine Systems. Okay, first up, judges, we're going to go to Naaman.
Wow, great presentation. Very exciting. I love the impact apps aspect of it, and I like the commercial aspect of it. I think, have you found going to farmers, how challenging is that from a sales system? Like, have you found that you can get traction there? Can you get in to actually speak to the right farmer, to drive, the commercial aspect of things?
Yeah, sure, Naman. So we've been speaking to farmers on a regular basis. So we are based in a small town, which is like adjacent to multiple farming-based villages. So agriculture is the major activity over here. So we have spoken to a lot of farmers who are, some of them are our neighbors who are already willing to send us their crop waste. So they're like, when are you starting this? We want to do this ASAP. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, amazing. And then maybe a follow-up question, and I'll pass it on to my fellow judges, is that I saw you're filing for a patent as well. Can you talk a little bit about the technology? I know you have a co-founder there, your CTO, the scientist.
Yeah.
A little bit about where this technology came from.
So we were actually working with aerospace companies. So we were working on laser-based manufacturing processes, and we had made carbon fiber 3D printers during our college time. So we were intensively researching on carbon fibers as well as lasers. So when we went to Delhi, it just clicked that this problem is huge, and it just clicked that we have to solve this. We have to, we know how to solve this, and since then we have done a lot of research on this.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Great.
Next up, Aisha, you're next up.
Great job, Girish and Kedar. Very interesting problem statement. So my question, Girish, is that this burning of crop stubble has been a very age-old problem in India, right? It has been going on for decades, and multiple people have tried to do something about it, but nobody has really cracked it, right? Why do you think that is so? What has your research told you on the other kinds of initiatives or sustainable initiatives similar to your startup that have been done, and why they haven't worked, and why would this one work?
Sure, Isha. So, as very rightly said, there have been quite a few interesting startups who have tried to work on this by converting this crop waste into either biogas or stuff like compressed cardboards or packaging materials. But what we realized, sort of growing up with farmers, is that the kind of price you can sell that is comparatively lower. And if you say carbon fibers, we have a lot of margin as it's a very high value product. It's like it's worth its weight in gold, you can say. So we have a lot of margin that we can, incentivize these farmers to do so. And farmers don't actually like they already are earning very low incomes from their actual produce. And so if you just incentivize them something nominal, it's like they won't sort of resort to collecting it and then taking it to you. And one thing we are trying to do here is we are taking the factories in a very compact way near to them, so which will increase their potential to sort of get their crop waste, and they're getting paid a lot more than what a cardboard manufacturer or a plywood manufacturer could pay them for their crop waste.
Okay.
Fantastic. That answers my question. Thanks, Girish.
Thank you
Thank you.
both. Ajay, you're up next.
Hey, Girish.
Hi.
Just trying to understand. So let's say I remove the whole farmer problem from the equation, right? Now let's just focus on the carbon fiber thing, right? Would you just go after it still?
Yeah, sure. Like the one of the major things we were trying to do is solve for the farmers, and then supply. We wanted to be a bridge between farmers and the aerospace companies, right? So we can still do it, but we would love to involve the farmers as well, because we want to see them succeed, and since they are the backbone of our nation, we
For
would love to
sure.
see them succeed with us.
Yeah, sure. See, once you get into a factory model, right? We are looking at how can you be consistent, right? And as questions came, there's always a concern whether, which day the farmers would flip because of various reasons, right? So that's where I'm asking. I don't necessarily see a strong correlation between the impact and the commercial aspect. That's what I'm trying to marry right here.
Okay. So, there is actually, to answer your question, there is a very strong impact. So,
No.
as we are sequestering this carbon, which would have otherwise gone into the atmosphere, if you can see this slide, so
Sure.
the amount of carbon fiber that we are producing is not only generating us revenue and not only generating the farmers' revenue, it's sequestering, removing that much of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere as well.
Okay.
So there is a
All
very
right,
strong correlation with the impact and the commercial side.
got it. Sure, thanks.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ajay.
Ankur, you're up next.
Hey, yeah, hi, Girish and team. I think good presentation. A lot of questions, but to begin with, maybe if I think carrying on Ajay's point, if I have to ask you, on which side you are? Are you a manufacturing company or are you a sustainable company? You have to pick one. What will that be? You cannot be solving all three problems in one go, and that will then have maybe one more follow-up question based on your answer.
So thank you, Ankur, for an interesting question. We started off being a manufacturing company initially, but now I think sustainability is the way to go forward.
Yeah, no, I think maybe the theme of the championship is sustainability. That's why you are trying to mix it. But I still ask you, if you are a manufacturing company, is this the most efficient way? Um, if I leave the sustainability picture out of it.
Sure, sure, Ankur. Like this is even if you leave the farmers and everything out, this is one of the most effective ways to produce carbon fiber moving forward. Because
Fair enough.
the existing carbon fiber is made from petroleum, which is depleting day by day, and any such small issue like a war or something raises the price of crude oil tremendously. And since we are making this out of crop waste, this is like one of the most efficient. We have a lot of oversupply of this raw material. So from a business point of view, I think this is the way to go forward. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah. No, it answers. It answers. It's interesting. Just one last question. Have you been able to figure out the unit economics, that how does it work? I saw a snapshot of your, I think, projections,
Yeah.
but uh, uh, does it? Do you have some idea that? Okay, let me see. If you're saying year three PBT is close to 500,000. Uh, okay. To generate 1 ton, how much, what's the expense? Do you have that ready somewhere?
Yeah. So if you see the slide, uh,
Yeah,
if we take 1 ton of crop waste, we
yeah,
can generate 200 kgs of carbon fiber.
okay.
And to sort of produce this, and the initial expense would be 250K, that is for the one container factory. But the recurring expense will be around $50 that goes to the farmers, plus um, uh, around uh, around 15 dollars. The $50 is per ton of crop waste, and then $15 per kg of the carbon fiber that is produced. I think I have it better over here. So we have actually done a lot of detailed calculations and simulations of how the business side and how much production capacity will be there.
Okay, fair enough. No, I think I get the sense. Thank you. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Ankur.
Thank you both. Judges, by show of hands, does anyone have a final question? We're good? Okay. Thank you very much. Enjoyed the presentation, enjoyed the questions from the judges, and we're way to the races. Now, judges, take your time and record your scores and deliberate. Appreciate as well, a couple of quick shout outs. Appreciate the Schulich students who are part of the team coming on video. That's great to show your support. Thank you. Also, nice to get some introductions from mentors that have joined today in the chat stream. So thanks to Ranjini and Rick for both introducing themselves there and explaining some of what they've been up to with their team. That was really nice. Dr. Prasad, we're way to the races now. Time for you and I to chat for a few moments. And I wanted to check in with you. We all read globally about the number of fast rising startup companies, scale up companies, and unicorns coming out of India. And so we'd love to hear your perspective on that. You study a lot of these things. What are you seeing in terms of the success rate, when they're winning, why they're winning, and when they're losing, some of the things you think they need to pick up the pace on? Give us a little temperature check.
Sure. Yeah. Sure, Chris. I think I'll just take your question in two parts. The first thing is, of course, the startup ecosystem in India is growing rapidly. As you know, we're the third country in the world which is supporting a huge number of startups. And over the last 5 years, the number has crossed more than 120,000 startups, which have been supported over the years by the Startup India. The success rate, if you ask me, however, is better than the global average, around 10 to 15%. But we do see a significant fallout in the first 2 years. And then those who survive, then you find the success rate not that bad, going up to 20, 25% if they survive the first 2 years. But then if you look at the unicorns, which Indian startup system has produced, that we have today more than 110 unicorns and roughly $350 billion of investments have gone in these unicorns. So that is a significant impact, I would say, from the startup ecosystem. Now, of India point of view, Chris, what's happening is the approach has been really, I would say, touching all the possible corners, what a startup would really look for. So you have access to finance, of course. There is a fairly good web-based ecosystem for startups to stay connected, also with the investors. And I think the Atal Innovation Mission, which is another mission which runs again from the Government of India, I think that has played a very important role because we created through that more than 70, 75 that order of Atal incubation centers. We call them as AICs. And many of them are, partnered with academic and research and development institutions, which is great. So what you see is a complementary role coming from the push from the Startup India mission per se, objective being that to push startups and make them successful. But you also have another nurturing ecosystem of the incubators and accelerators supported through the Atal Innovation Mission. So, I would say this is the best time in the country where you see more and more startup supported by the ministry. But again, I would say this: what is interesting is we now also see many thematic hackathons being run. And these hackathons have been on different themes, could be plastic waste, just as an example, to bring in innovators. And these are supported many times by the CSR funds, the corporate social responsibility funds. So to answer you, yes, there is a challenge in terms of, the attrition, but still it's better than the global average. The unicorns coming out progressively every year is increasing. Today it's crossed more than 110. We also would see more and more decathlons coming in. That's also happening already. So future is bright, I would say. We have to figure out how do we provide more and more mentoring on a continual basis. And I would say two areas. One, skills, and second is the mentoring support. These two, if we strengthen, I think we would see much better growth and impact of startups.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that perspective with us. I love working with you. You've got so many things that you're tapped into and thinking about, and I always love hearing your thoughts on the space. I can see our judges are back and ready to go for our next company. So with that, we will welcome GLED to come forward to stage and prepare to be counted in. You can share your screen. Okay.
Hi, is my screen visible to all and I'm audible?
Yeah, you're on full screen now, so I'm going to count you in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello everyone, I'm Shreya and today I'll be presenting GLED, a green version of LED bulbs here to revolutionize the entire light industry. But before we get started, meet the Chopras. One day I saw my father gathering the failed LED bulbs to throw away, but I knew he had bought them only a few months ago. This made me wonder, do these use? Asked him, he explained that LED bulbs now have shorter warranties as they've reduced from 5 to just 1 year now, and working hours have reduced from 50,000 to 10,000 hours now, forcing consumers to buy new ones more frequently. Although LED bulb prices have dropped, their durability reduced and created an economic burden on us, especially for cost-conscious and middle-class families. My family and I are environmentally conscious and support eco-friendly practices. Our discussion grew deeper when we realized the impact of these small bulbs on the environment. The LED bulb body is 90% plastic, and only the PCB cartridge requires replacement. Yet, we often discard the entire bulb and contributing to 100 million kg of e-waste annually in India alone, along with millions and tons of CO2 emissions. It felt as though we are burning both our wallets and the earth. Curious about possible solutions, my father even tried cutting a bulb open to see if we could replace the PCBA cartridge ourselves. It was impossible. The components were soldered, glued, machine pressed, making self repair unrealistic. Now, this made me think, while we can afford new bulbs, what about those in the marginalized communities for whom even a single LED bulb is a luxury? This problem called for an action. We don't need a handful of people doing zero waste perfectly. We need millions of people doing it imperfectly. And that led to the birth of GLED. Introducing GLED, a reusable LED bulb with replaceable PCBA cartridge. It has the capability to transform the entire GLED market. Instead of replacing the entire bulb, only the cartridge can be replaced and will reduce the cost of the bulb by 75%. This innovation extends the bulb's life, reduces waste, circular economy. GLD will offer a solution for both eco-friendly and cost-effectiveness. Now, our design is simple yet innovative. GLED has a reusable body that can last for years, and its PCBA cartridge can be replaced without tools and skills. And with air vents in the bulb, it will ensure a longer life of the bulb. GLED is more than just a bulb. It's a patented concept of reusability with the potential to revolutionize the entire lighting industry, encompassing the full spectrum of LED lights. In the initial phase, we are focusing on the eco-conscious consumers and households seeking sustainable long-term savings. These early adopters will prioritize reducing waste, choosing environmentally friendly products. By building a strong foundation with these consumers, we aim to establish GLED as a proven concept, ready to scale through government initiatives like Ujala and large institutions such as schools and hospitals that will need cost-effective solutions for high-cost LED systems. Now, this dual approach will position GLED as a major player in the lighting market, facilitating expansion to a larger scale. Our business model focuses on long-term sustainability and customer retention. GLED bulbs will launch at a competitive price of INR 100 to attract the eco-conscious buyers with a 20% gross margin profit, with replacement cartridges priced at INR 25, cutting ownership cost by 75%. Our reusable light bulbs are just the beginning. While customers buy the bulbs once, it's our cartridges that drive continuous business and gives us a 60% profit margin. These easy to replace cartridges ensure that our customers don't need to buy new bulb. They just need to swap the cartridge when the light starts to dim. This approach will make our product both sustainable and convenient for the users, creating a recurring revenue stream that drives most of our profit. It is a win-win for us and the customers. Customers save on waste and we maintain strong ongoing engagement with our product. Sales will be driven initially through the Amazon and Flipkart and our website. Talking about market size, the global light bulb market is valued at USD 73.1 billion, with India contributing USD 3.2 billion. By capturing just 1% of the Indian market, GLED could reach USD 32 million. Looking at our financial projections, we will break even in our first year, and our projections show steady growth with revenues increasing from year 1 to 50 million by year 5. Our competitors lack a comparable solution, establishing GLED as a true market shaker and leader in advancing circular economy. Our competitive advantage is strengthened by our commitment to waste reduction, product longevity, and alignment with global sustainability goals. Our survey outcomes aligned with what we anticipated. 63% of the respondents showed strong interest in GLED's reusable light. With eco-conscious consumers driving the market, we are confident that GLD is well positioned to meet the full pull sale instead of push sale of such LED bulbs. Our GLD is protected with a patent in methodology of reusability of LED bulbs, tube and concealed lights granted by Government of India, ensuring our unique design and approach are safeguarded. We have also received funding from CZC, the Carbon Zero Challenge by IIT Madras, which helped us to develop develop a fully functional prototype. Now, this funding not only validates the viability of our product, but demonstrates the confidence in GLED's potential to drive sustainable innovation in the lighting industry. GLED has already garnered substantial recognition, including a silver medal at renowned UNESCO IIDA Awards, as well as first prize at the GIX University of Washington and the Inspire Awards from the Government of India. These achievements underscore GLED's potential to create a meaningful impact in the market. Sustainability is the most important thing for us, and GLD actively supports UN SDG 12, 13, 8, and more by minimizing waste, reducing carbon emissions, and promoting responsible consumption. Talking about the roadmap, the initial first phase, we have already finalized the design, but we are yet to create molds with a focus on gathering feedback and obtaining certification of our samples. In the phase 2, we will be focusing on launching the online sales through Amazon, Flipkart, and establishing units across various Indian states to assemble the product. In phase 3, we'll pursue government contracts for large-scale installations. And in phase 4, the last phase, we aim to revolutionize the entire lighting industry by introducing our reusability concept across full range of LED lights and substantially scale up our profit margins through high-cost lightnings in industries. Meet our team. It's me, Shreya Chopra, co-founder, a fourth-year law student, environmentalist, leading GLD's mission towards sustainable innovation. Along with me, I have Naveen Chopra, co-founder, happens to be my father as well, with 25 years of experience in marketing and manufacturing. He drives our product development and market strategy. Along with us, we have two on-board advisors, Nidhi Kumar Narang and Renu Narang, who provide us deep knowledge and connections in energy sectors and an financial oversight and strategic guidance. With this, we thank Together Mission for 5.0 for getting us great mentors on board who have guided us till now. A little story.
And with that, you're at the 8-minute mark. So thank you very much. If you have other things, you'll get a chance in the questions to slide them in, of course. This time, we're going to go with the judges in the reverse order, so I don't start with the same person every time. So Ankur, you'll be up first.
Shreya, first of all, congratulations. I think it's a very good concept, and more importantly, I think you get a brownie points not from the idea perspective, but just getting it started. Hats off to you, being a student, achieving all these things. It really calls for a celebration. I don't particularly see many students taking 2 or 3 more steps. So first of all, take that as a big compliment. Interesting, very interesting. But again, I couple of questions to begin with. I like the product. I understood the product features very well, but I got confused in between when you started talking about the market. Okay, because you have a slide on the phase 1, phase 2, then you talked about households, then you talked about individuals, then you talked about government. Who is you and one, since you have already started, you please do not focus on so many segments in first 12 to 18 months. That would be my advice also. But who's your real customer here? Large scale government projects, individual, or who is that customer?
So to answer your question, first of all, we have not brought our product in the market yet. That's the projection that we have made. Firstly, also, can I call my mentor and my father, who is also the co-founder, together, so we can ask? Yeah.
Sure.
Just a sec. Yeah.
Hi,
Hello, sir.
hi,
How are you, sir?
hi, sir. How are you? Yes.
Sir, to this answer, we
Sorry,
Shreya said-
apologies. Time out. That's not part of the competition, and that is not permitted. So I apologize. I'm sorry, but student founders only, and we understand that people have non-student founders in their cap table and team, but the student is responsible for addressing the questions. Thank you.
Yes. So initially we want to start with the basic bulb that we have to get into the market, into the households, to make people aware about the idea of reusable LEDs. But our actual profits will be made when we bring this reusability method in the the industry lights, where we have the concealed lights, the heavy industrial lights, because there we'll make great gross profit. So that is the place that we are targeting. But to initially begin with, when I mentioned to basically expand, we first will want to start and spread this in the market through households and reach to maybe marginalized sections through government, because government provides like the Ujala scheme I've mentioned, right? So like the Siska bulbs that they sold at 40 INR, if our bulb is provided with the advantage of reusability, I believe that's how those sections as of the communities will also be liking our product more and adapt to it. And so far, our response on this GLD's adaptation by the people who have visited through various exhibitions and through various competitions has been very positive, that they're ready to use this if it's in the market. And about the answer, how I would like to scale it, there will be stages to it. Initially,
Fair enough.
first,
No. Sorry, Shreya. Sorry to cut short.
yeah.
I got it. And my question is not only the scaling. It's on the segment. I get what you're trying to say. Anyways, at scale, do you have any idea how much does it cost? And scale, you can say maybe a lakh units in a month. Any idea how much does it cost to build one?
So I have also mentioned in just a second. It's like we have planned upon on making 1,000 LED
I think
bulbs.
you had one slide on the unit economics. If you can just go there, it will give us some idea. Just you just pass through that slide. No. Just go behind. Anyways, continue. Please answer. Sorry, I'm cutting you because it's very interesting. Looks.
So we intend to, so given that we are able to raise the ask that we have on that amount, which I could not mention because of the time constraint, was 10 was 1 crore, is that if we get 1 crore funding in the initial first 2 months, we'll have 10,000 monthly bulk sales, which will give us a gross profit, as I've mentioned here, of 2 lakh rupees. So I've accordingly made this table, and we will be profitable if from the very first year. I mean, I've shown the break even on this table accordingly.
Okay, thank you both. Thank you both. Ajay, you're up next.
Hey, thanks. Hey, Shreya, great. Looks like you will be the Gillette of light bulbs. Quite a few questions, but I'll try to quickly wrap them, right? I think Ankur did ask the unit economics. Why would you price it low? I'm actually a little surprised, right? If it is doing something that you're saying it is doing, it should be priced at 200 rupees in my head, right? Or more. So that's one. The target segment also, and these might be inputs. I would love to might be take the conversation offline also. The target segment, why wouldn't it be B2B initially? Let's say the hotels, right? For example, they are the most influenced or they are the most affected in industry or hospitals you mentioned, right? Why wouldn't you do that? Going B2C with 1 crore is not being wise about it, right? So I mean, the ask is less, and you would want to go B2B in my head, unless you want to really build a brand, which will take a lot of money.
Okay, so
right?
to answer your questions first, should I answer now?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So to answer your question first, being priced at a lower cost, basically we've taken an average bulb price today, like the normal LED is 100 rupees. So we are at a competitive price. We are giving an edge of reusability to the consumer. And because we want to, as I mentioned, be available and make masses together in this concept, I need to keep the prices at a price that it's convenient for them and does not make them feel that, oh, it's something that I'm taking an extra step forward. So bring the masses together, I need for the consumer's interest, I have placed it at a similar price, providing with an edge of reusability, cost efficiency, all of that thing. Now, second thing that you're saying, that we are raising less amount and then we are, going directly to consumers, and why not B2B, is because the first target was to get to the consumers to make it. Actually, we want a pull sale, not a push sale. Pull sale will mean that people want it from us. The present day LED light industries, companies, why they are not doing is that they're already making great profits from what they're selling right now. Ours, it has an thought behind it, to not just, we never thought to make profit initially when it was just an idea. We never thought we'll have a company, it was an idea. But now that I want to have a company, I also want that in the long run people remember that we were here for a change. And just like single use plastic ban has been well practiced in especially I see it in India. We have seen a reduction in the use of the plastic bags. Eventually, it took a lot of years, but it did. Similarly, I want that someday it will come that single use LED bulbs should be banned, because that's the whole plastic going into the bin. But as rightly said by you, that why not the hotels and all of those being, we'll go there. I've mentioned we'll also cover the hospitals, schools, all of these institutions as well.
Okay, well, two final quick ones, right? How much of it is sourced totally in India? The PCB,
So,
etc.
So the parts are being basically from the manufacturer that I'm getting my dies and all made. He's getting the LEDs from Taiwan. So that's the only thing that we are sourcing. And rest assembly and everything will be based in India.
Okay,
The
and I want
PCB is very. Thanks,
Sorry,
Chris.
sir.
yeah, sorry. I want to keep the ball moving so other judges get chances as well too. Those are great questions. We're going to keep it moving. Isha, you're up next.
Hey Shreya, very good job and thanks for your curiosity and taking a problem from your everyday life and letting it spark into a solid business idea. My question is this. There are a lot of heavyweight players in the space, Havells, Philips, Crompton. How are you thinking about your go-to market? And I know you mentioned Flipkart and Amazon, but can you maybe double click a bit? Because something like this which requires let's say consumer education, is a completely new product from a new brand. You try to sell it in a D2C fashion in an industry which we know sells majorly through dealer networks. This is going to have very high CAC. So can you maybe go to level two of how exactly are you planning to bring this to market?
So, ma'am, since you rightly mentioned there are heavy players in the market already who would not want ours to come up. But I mean, we had also got ones that, okay, maybe you just give the patent to us since we have a patent granted to us. Give us the patent and just forget about it. Take the money, give us the patent. But we didn't feel that that is going to help the purpose that we're looking forward to. And to answer your question, so I'm just the question was
The question was, how do you plan to go to market with this, given this is going to have high CAC and most players sell it through
yes,
dealer
exactly.
networks? How are you going to sell?
Yeah. So for that only we're looking for investors to fund us so that we can actually bring them through as I mentioned to like we need to make the product first. Like I'll be very honest, I'm right now at IIT Madras. I have my event which was for the CZC Carbon Zero Challenge. The final award has to happen tomorrow morning. All the people that were there at my exhibition said, the investors, the advisors, they said you are just one step behind from making the final product, because we just lack for making the final product. For we need that material, the polycarbonate, the type of material that we need. They said if you make it, you are in the market in next 3 months and the market will bloom. With that confidence in us, we don't feel that even if going through Amazon, Flipkart would be an issue. And we'll need investors who believe in our idea and give us those funds and be together in it. That's all that we aim, because we need money to sustain in the market initially.
Thanks, Shreya.
Naaman, you've got like a 30-second question
No problem.
response.
Thank you. Great presentation, Shreya. I think one of the things I was interested in is like, where did the innovation from the technology come from? I don't see from yourself, your co-founder. Where did the true IP come from?
So, sir, the whole idea of GLED is the design that we have made. So, as I mentioned, that there was a discussion to make bulbs last longer, and why are we just throwing them into the bin? So, our father had cut open the LED bulbs, seeing that all the PCBA parts are sold as to repair. So, it's basically that we have made the design. We are not basically focusing on making LED bulbs. Our was to make a design that makes those LED bulbs last. That's how we came up to the whole idea. And I'm really happy because so far I've got so much good responses, and being a law enthusiast and more into environmental law, this is really empowering and is doing what I mean, it's just supporting what I love to do. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you, GLED, for your presentation, judges for your questions. Now it's time for your deliberation, and we'll see you in 4 or 5 minutes. I love when you come back on and give me a little wave or a wink that you're back there, at least with your video. It lets me know that you're ready to go. And now we'll come back and have Dr. Prasad and I chat again.
Yeah, Chris, this is going great. Together fives. I can really sense it's so vibrant. I want you to go back and tell us more about how it was in the first instance when you organized the Together 1.0, so to say. And how did that go that time? I want you to go back to the memory lane and tell us, did you ever think that this is going to grow that big?
No. And interestingly enough, in terms of like designing community and designing momentum for ideas, I have a real belief that when you're presented with an opportunity, some people will say, like in the startup space, of course, we tell everyone, make it as MVP as possible, start as small as it could possibly be, and then grow it from there. But sometimes there's moments and opportunities in community design or in like concept design, or in this case, a competition or a program, where actually I believe that the opposite is true, and that the smaller you make the idea, the less compelling it will be to the universe of cool people to show up and get involved. So I can still remember when we got the first email message from Startup India. They had seen the work that we were doing during the pandemic, helping Schulich students who were supposed to come to Canada, but they couldn't because of international travel restrictions. And we were helping them get remote internships, working with the Schulich startup companies. And people were talking about that, and they thought it was a creative way to bridge that gap of not being able to travel. And so they asked us, would you like to do a competition between some of our students and some of your students? And we thought about it, and we said, well, there's a lot of things that are like that in the world. There are a lot of competitions that are out there. But at the time, everybody was like in the spirit of like, there was a lot to be done in the world to help each other across borders and to be connected to each other. So we came back, we thought about it, and we said, how about this? How about we gather together all of our best and brightest Schulich students, some students from York University, mentors and alumni from Schulich, instructors and friends. And how about we show up and we help to pitch in towards building some of these young, amazing companies. And we do it around a theme around, changing and impacting the world. And Startup India and the government of India, they loved that idea. They thought it was great. Now, we decided then that we needed to make it really big. And so we started to complicate it even more. And examples of how we complicated it was by saying, okay, now we're going to go get all those students to support, but we're also going to build a mentorship program as well. And it won't just be mentors from Canada. It will be mentors from Canada and India, and we'll pair them together and we'll build a whole set of friendships between the mentor communities at the same time. And then in that very first one as well, too, we said, we're also going to go out and we're going to build like a special think tank that to help us really get what we need to do in the first one. We'll bring together 10 of the top leaders in the Indian ecosystem and 10 top leaders in the Canadian ecosystem. And we'll run some sessions behind the scenes for them to like meet and talk. And what should this look like? So I believe that the key to Together Mission succeeding and having power to keep going is that we made it something that was big and bold and had a big dream behind it. And as well, when we did it, we let everybody know that we were going to do it in 90 days. Not, this is something we'll do next year. We're going to do it in 90 days with only that time. And when we started, we had no logo, we had no name, we had no curriculum. We had base curriculum from Schulich, but we didn't have the actual curriculum of what we were going to do. We didn't have a website. We didn't have sponsors. We didn't have any money. We had no students from Schulich. We had no mentors from Canada, no mentors from India, no companies or students from India, and no no technology yet acquired to deploy and broadcast and run and manage. And we didn't have a team at Schulich because my main team was busy with many other things. So the sheer boldness and the audacity of doing all this in 90 days is in fact what attracted so many people to go. Literally, people would say to me, that's completely nuts. Let's go do it. It made it more exciting and more fun and more compelling to them to want to do it. So thanks for asking the question, and appreciate it.
Yeah. So, Chris, in fact, this rewind tells us that you were in fact doing a startup by itself.
Yes,
you guys,
that's true.
You said you got nothing and you thought of something and started thinking bigger and bigger. And I think today what it is, I can see how it will be. Maybe when we do together 10, maybe, and that's amazing. Amazing story. Thank you, Chris, for this conversation.
Thanks for the opportunity to share it, Dr. Prasad. That brings us to our next presentation. I can see the judges are back. So we'll welcome Cookie Solutions to the stage. And once you share your screen and you're at full screen,
hello.
I just want to see, do you want to get to full screen on the presentation?
For some reason, this is the maximum that it is letting me do.
Oh, okay. We won't delay further then. And we will count you in 3, 2, 1.
So hello, everyone. I'm Kushagra Bhatia, co-founder of Cookie. Before we begin, a question that is, if I were to give you a set of 3,000 documents right now, how long do you think it will take for you to make one single report? From my experience, it takes somewhere, and suffering also, it takes somewhere between 2 to 7 months to make one single report. And that's what we're catering for. We do ESG reporting within 60 minutes. Cookie is basically a one-stop solution for ESG compliance. We do more than just analyze, we anticipate, inspire, and drive change. So we realize that ESG is at a very nascent stage right now. It has become mandatory in 2023 everywhere almost. And there are certain difficulties being faced by everybody. That is, data collection is a maze right now in the market. Data is fragmented all over computers and different metric standards. Analysis and reporting is difficult because it becomes really difficult to pinpoint standards and then distill that complex information into actionable insights. And we realize that consultants are tired away of wasting hours on ESG data. Let me take you through a journey as to what is happening in the market right now. It takes somewhere between 8 to 28 weeks with a lot of multiple manual processes to make one single report. Let's say Sunita had to do reporting today. She'll call up an organization's operations, HR, finance, all the departments, ask for data. Then once she gets all of that data, she will identify what is relevant in that data. Once that is done, she'll standardize the whole data according to the needs of the business, analyze it, compile it, and then the report is done. And it takes 8 months in the whole journey. And what happens of the report? It lies in the shelf taking dust. And that's where we come in. With Cookie, all you have to do is log into the platform, do a data dump of every documentation in unclean format that you have. And within 60 minutes, your report is ready to go. You can review it, edit it, and then it has actionable insights and benchmarking to it as well. So essentially sustainable reporting in 60 minutes. Our product, there are specific 5 pointers if I had to say about our product. First is AI-powered reporting. We do it 6 times faster in comparison to the market right now. And all you have to do is do a data dump of every documentation ranging from PDF, PPT, Word, or essentially even your video recordings of meetings. You can just dump it over here and within 60 minutes, your report will be ready. Next is audit readiness. As a lawyer, I know that we can't afford to make mistakes in the journey because there are penalties for same. And that's why every information that is there in the report is backed by a citation. And that citation is essentially the documentation that is given by the company essentially. So you can trail it back. Next is benchmarking. Everybody in the market wants to know where they stand in comparison to their peers and in comparison to the industry leaders and how exactly do they reach the North Star. So we help you along the journey for the same as well. Next is data insights. So as you can see on the panel, there are advanced data insights, but there are two perspectives to it that are most interesting. First is predictive analysis, and next is risk forecasting. So let's say, example, any of your organization wanted to shift from normal electricity to solar electricity. On the basis of your data, we'll be able to tell you that, hey, you're from this place, this is the consumption that you have. These many solar panels will be required. These are the subsidies given by your government. And these many months, you'll be able to cover the cost of the deployments. In these many months, you'll actually start making savings. So you can take the decision right away instantly. So that's another thing. And last is one click, ready to go submittable report. So within 60 minutes, you'll have a report that is ready to go for compliance, and that's ready. Now, what's our essential business model? It's B2B SaaS model, and we're targeting right now ESG consultancies and law firms as our primary customers. And secondary, it's basically direct to enterprise. We want to sell it to companies as well, specifically in the chain of SMEs, because that's where we think that there's a lot of scope. And the pricing of the same depends upon the geography, upon the kind of company and the operational units that they have. For internationally, there's different. For domestic in India, it's different. Our traction right now, so there are 4 pilots going on for us. EcoSogo is basically ex-KPMG partners, left the firm, started their own company. They have around 50 listed companies in their portfolio. So we're customizing the tool to their needs, and we're their tech partners, and we'll be starting reporting for them starting December. So that's there. Then AM Specialty, it's basically a value chain partner to Tata BlueScope, and they're into making films, plastic films and chemicals for them. And again, a very intensive process. For them, we are reporting. The data collection is done, the reporting has been done. We're in the process of giving it to them. Then Ananya Packaging, again, they're the value chain partners to the sleep company. So we're reporting for them as well. There's a total potential portfolio of 48 million INR or $780,000 CAD. Next, competitive landscape. So basically, our competitors in the market are data collection dashboards. We don't want to be that. We are end-to-end AI reporting solutions. So that's there. We do reporting in under 60 minutes. With the rest of them, it takes at least 1.5 months to 3 months. That's there. Our pricing essentially stops where their pricing starts. So it's anywhere between 3 to 7 lakhs. And for them, it's 3x more, 2x more, 4x more. We're raw data compatible. We do AI-based advisory on the basis of your data. And we're training our own ESG LLM model, which in the market, we're few actually doing it. Market sizing. So as all of you know, that anybody and everybody who's making any choices right now is on the basis of their ESG, be it investors, customers. So there's a total market of $207 billion. Our SAM is essentially of $21 billion because we'll be catering to the markets of India, Europe, Singapore, and Middle East. So that's there for them. And our obtainable market right now on the basis of calculating upwards, it's basically 194 million. Again, catering to the same needs. What is our GTM right now? So our GTM is essentially, our platform is ready for Indian compliance. We have secured paid pilots, design partnerships are going on. In the next quarter, Q1, Q2 of 2025, we want to be ready for the international markets. That is global compliance. We'll be concluding pilots over there. And analytics and AI advisory is going to be there. In Q3, Q4, 2025, essentially that's when we want to launch because the sales cycle begins then, or the reporting season begins then. We'll be acquiring customers. We'll be doing conferences, sales team. In Q1, Q2, 2026, again, global expansion into the market. And by 2027, we want to become ESG consultancy services end to end. We want to have our ESG basically network and have global expansion offices. Sustainability and society, we want to help companies pursue their sustainable solutions, with social impact. We want to help them reach from zone 1, zone 2, zone 3 to actually zone 4, where their ecological costs are less and product qualities are high, and definitely helping them in sustainability goals meeting. That's our team. I'm Kushagra. A little bit about myself. I've been consultant with OpenAI for past 2 years. Before that, I was working with Rahul Gemini, the CTO of Swiggy, for 2 years. Worked with a London-based law firm, BT Jazwaya, for 6 months as their product manager for the legal tech product they were making. Again, lawyer by profession. And this is my co-founder, Kiran Chaudhary. So both of us, she's my best friend, in fact. And she has worked with ministry. She's a sustainability geek. And she worked with Ministry of Law and Justice, worked with Odisha government on their water sanitation projects, and that's our whole team. For our founding engineers, our ESG consultants, and thank you so much for the mentorship that we got from Schulich School. A little bit about our journey. We're backed by the Residency, a San Francisco-based program where Sam Altman is the startup advisor. We were lucky enough to be in the top 55, and we are incubated at IIM. And recently, we were invited by the government of London for basically doing our product, showing our product over there and get clients.
And with that, you've hit your 8-minute mark. And of course, you're welcome to weave back other things into your answers where you can with the judges. Naaman, this time we'll start with you.
Great presentation there. Can you describe exactly how the technology works? You know, how have
Definitely.
you built this to be going down to 60 minutes for something that takes like 1 to 3 months? Are you using like
Definitely.
traditional LLMs or, how does the technology work?
Correct. So firstly, I'm a lawyer by profession, but a coder by heart. So I build the architecture behind it. And the technology behind basically essentially is that we have broken down all the reporting standards into specific KPIs and then created AI agents to pick information from raw data, which is the most difficult problem right now being faced in the industry of cleaning the data. So our AI agents are able to clean that data. And then we're giving that information to write the parent answer. And parent answer, that's where our LLM comes in. LLM, we have trained on 32 sectors that are identified by NSE right now. And for each sector, we have given specific information to write the report so that it's different for each company. And then the report is generated.
Great, thank you.
Isha, over to you.
Thanks, Kushagra and Kiran. My question is, are you, in the long term, are you planning to scale this as a SaaS product, or are you planning to sell almost, think of it like as an outcome or a service? Because ESG is also a domain where a lot of players generally opt for outsourcing and consultancy. So how are you thinking about it on a long-term basis? And
So right
one more quick question, just a quick question on top of that. There are also, because this space is heating up, there are also a lot of other players like Fingreen, C3 AI, multiple others, right? Like you just do, I did a quick search of AI ESG startup, and there are like many, many of them. So what is your differentiation with respect to these new upstarts?
Definitely. So first thing, in to answer both the questions separately, we in the long term we want to become an end-to-end consultancy services using our product. But right now, for the initial phase, we're a plug-and-play model where companies can directly take our software, use it, and generate report. That's there. Second thing, definitely there are a lot of competitors out in the market. However, how we differentiate ourselves from all of them is they're merely data collection dashboards. So basically, to make one single report, every month you'll have to input a lot of data. The already existing competitors also are doing the same thing. With us, you don't have to do that. Basically, you jump on board, our AI agents will clean the data dump. Basically, you can give electricity bills and anything, we'll clean it for you, and then within 60 minutes your report shall be ready to go. Next is our training of LLM model. Our LLM model is specifically being trained continuously, which in the market nobody is doing right now except for two companies. So that's how we differentiate ourselves from the competitors in the market right now. That is our algorithm, patented algorithm, training of our LLM model on the ESG data that we have.
Thank you. Ajay?
Thanks, Kushagra.
Good space. I'll just go deeper in the technology side, right? You're suggesting your own LLM. Is that what you're suggesting, or can you explain the stack that?
Definitely. So right now we have trained our model on 32 sectors. It's Llama model that we have broken apart completely, and then we're building up upon specific ESG data. We started our initial phase with training on available ESG reports that are out there for each sector. We collated all that information. And then every time that we do single reporting as well, our model is continuously training on the basis of that. So like for one company, we did the reporting. We saw that, hey, these are the set-offs that you can do, and these are the action plans. Once they implement that plan, and we see what are the outcomes on the basis of that, our model trains again. So basically, we're training our whole model on this thing, ESG.
Okay. Sure. Thanks.
Okay, Ankur?
Hey, thanks, guys. I think wonderful presentation. Most of the questions are answered. Just very curious, since it's a very competitive, because I was also not very much aware, so that's why I also did a quick search, figured out a lot of competition, a lot of people are doing various stuff. What do you think? Just curious to know, what's your take on becoming a direct to company service, or opening up as a open source platform and give it like a plugin to the B2B companies? Have you evaluated those strategies, or does it make sense?
No, no, it definitely makes sense, and thank you so much. So essentially, right now we're doing exactly the same thing as you're saying. In the initial phase of our journey, we want to become a plug and play model where law firms and consultancies who are doing reporting for others, they can take our software, do reporting for them, and do an acquisition at masses. For us also, there'll be a mass acquisition. For a long time, once that has been done, in the long run, if you see, we want to become an end-to-end consultancy service where we'll become direct to enterprise. And right now, also, we're in conversation with a lot of listed companies. We're hoping to close by the end of this month to customize the tool for them and become an end-to-end service for them. So that's there. So long-term plan is definitely that, but right now we're a plug and play model, which the consultancies and law firms, essentially anybody doing ESG reporting for companies, can use our tool for.
Got it. Fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, judges, does anyone else have a second question?
Are you using any proprietary data for training your models?
No, so right now we're using definitely only on the basis of that is publicly available data, but as and when we are acquiring clients, we're taking permissions for them for training a model. And again, we have our design partnerships going on, so we'll be training on the basis of that as well after the permissions.
Okay, I think one last question, if I may, from my side. Largely, the advantage which you are having from your product is on the time to delivery, which to me seems to be a huge advantage as compared to 60 minutes. Again, why you have priced lower? Why you haven't priced higher?
Correct. So right now, I'll tell you two perspectives. First, we want to do mass acquisition at small and medium enterprises as well, because the reporting is going to basically become like taxation that has anybody and everybody has to report. And in the market, an average of international pricing, I'll tell it's ranges somewhere between $250,000 to $300,000. And valuation partners are not able to do the reporting at that cost, which is exorbitantly high. And we want to democratize the price for everybody to be able to do sustainability reporting, so that the data is actually going in and they're making actual impact in the whole process.
Kiran, just before we wrap up, I wanted to see if you wanted to add to that question at all. You're on mute still.
Is she audible?
No. Oh, I see. There's something happening with the audio, unfortunately. Sorry about that. You're coming through scrambled. Okay, I think those are all the questions that we have, and thank you both for the presentation. And now we will move on to judges recording your scores, and back to Dr. Prasad and I.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Prasad, we talked in our first little chat spot there about many of the emerging scale-ups and unicorns that are in the Indian ecosystem. I'm really curious, you watch a lot of companies and are studying the space. What are some of the successful startups in India that you've got your eye on or you've been impressed by that you'd like to share with us today?
Sure. Chris, this is quite exciting because I remember that some of the names which I'm going to talk to you about, we never thought that they will be such big companies, when they started working like startups. And one such example I would give you is Digit, Ola, even Ola, is Uber equivalent in India, which was a startup way back in 2014, and now it has become such a huge corporation. But generally, you will find even companies like Fractal, for that matter. Fractal truly was a startup. And today is the global 500 Fortune company in the artificial intelligence. So these are some of the shining examples where you see companies which began like a startup and now gone full blown, creating huge impact. But generally, most of these startups, if you successful startups, the way I see it, have been more tech based. So, for example, EdTech is one case. You see e-commerce space, you see food tech, you see logistics, supply chains, and the health sector. In fact, the health startups which really came up post-COVID are the examples where you see companies coming in and coming up with very innovative models. We also have companies, by the way, not just IT driven, but also supplying and making very innovative, cost effective, and high quality products. Like Boat is one example. Another example I would say, which is quite different, is uh, gateways like the Rezapay is another good example to look at. Nika is again a very specialty marketplace for the cosmetics. They're done very well. Now these companies, these names which I'm taking, very interesting part is they've matured enough to commit to social accountability. And that I think, Chris, is a very interesting trend that they're no longer talking about their business models into 8x, 10x, 15x revenue growth, but they're also weaving in slowly the responsible part of the business. And companies which have come, for example, a startup which used to be small and now is going big and taken over, like Big Basket, has committed for social accountability 8,000 standards. So this is where I see Chris going. These startups are getting more and more responsible, and that's I think coming from the demand even from the customers. So in a sense, the startups in their growth phase are getting more and more responsive. They're mirroring what the society is looking for, what the regulators are asking, and making this space. So I would say all these names which I talked about are great examples for the startups to look at it. How do you really do a mature startup? And I think that's the way to go. I think we even the last presentation we heard on ESG is an example that startups are now thinking more and more to bring in environment, social governance in their businesses, and these companies, have done extremely well. I would say good examples.
And follow-up question to that, consumers are aligned behind that. Just I don't want to call them consumers. People are aligned behind that, and the startups are building that earlier into their ethos. And when they're getting larger, they're building that in too. Is the VC community aligned with that?
Yes, very much. I think it's an excellent question. And you do see, Chris, the VC community and also the LPs have their own environmental social governance frameworks. They wouldn't really fund unless they see that the startup is well prepared, committed, more than just prepared, is committed to look into the environmental social governance aspects. But they also, apart from the investors, even the regulators have changed, so to say, and they're asking more and more disclosure. You also see us coming on traceability, transparency, and I think these are additional factors that people are looking at environment, social governance, or overall the canvas of sustainability as essential part. And I think that is something which I would say all these startups which I talked to you earlier have matured in that direction. So it's both customer and the investor and the regulator coming in and putting a pressure.
Got it. Good. Exciting times for sure. And exciting for our startups here today who are very much in this world and on the mission to hear that as well too. They're well ahead of the curve. Okay, we have our judges coming back, so now we will get ready for our fourth presentation. Today we're moving along at good speed, and now we'll welcome OncoAlert to the stage and have them get their presentation lined up, full screen if you can. That's great. And you're on mute, so I'll give you the chance to come off mute, and then I will count you in, and we'll go back to slideshow again, and I will count you in 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Jayanti and this is Dhalai in Assam. This is where I was 2 years back during my internship. Now, what a cruel irony that while we were reaching for moon, we were still squinting at people's mouth to catch oral cancer. It was in Dhalai during my internship where I met Amit. I still remember the warmth of chai of his hand where his family welcomed me into their home. I remember how his daughter Rani used to play with my hair where we shared stories and laughter, sharing over a meal. Later, a simple lesion was missed by Asha during the pre-cancer screening, which is done visually. By the time we get the diagnosis, it was too late. I watched helplessly this vibrant man, this father, this friend slip away. Some losses change you forever, and Amit definitely did. I couldn't bear the thought of another family going through this preventable tragedy again. It was this emotion which later made me quit my practice, take a leap of faith, and join a research position at Department of Biotechnology. And that is where I found my purpose, my team. And together, we are turning this pain into purpose and bringing Onco Alert, a novel, quick, and painless screening test for oral cancer. Now, oral cancer is the most fatal cancer in adult Indian men. You wouldn't believe that 2 out of 3 oral cancer patients are diagnosed at a very advanced stage. But why something so curable is yet so deadly? It is because this delay in detection, this delay due to visual screening with just naked eyes, which is almost 50% accurate, as good as a flip of a coin, which ends up costing people their lives. That's why we're bringing Onco Alert. It is instant, very quick, painless, non-invasive, highly accurate, user-friendly, and friendly to the pocket, and anyone can do this anywhere without requiring special equipment and any training. So it is as the simple as my finger. You just need to put your sample, 1 drop of saliva here, and you can instantly, under 5 minutes, see the results on this part. Now, what we're building here is novel because the binders that we have developed after intense R&D are conjugated with nanomaterials, and we have patented this technology. So while on the inside, all of this might look like rocket science, on the outside, even a layperson can understand the results between 1 and 2 lines, essentially bringing the entire laboratory to his fingertips. Now, we have a strong market pull and traction. Our target customer will be as mandated by Government of India for oral cancer screening. It will be men and women above age of 30 years, those who have chronic history of smoking, alcohol, and other carcinogens, and those who are looking for painless and convenient alternatives. We have demand, not only on paper, but field tested demand. We have literally had department heads of big hospitals asking, is it in market? Can we buy? We have the letter of intent. And all the major insurance companies are looking for screening, early screening and preventive healthcare tools like Onco Alert due to their massive cost to benefit ratio. And all the major and national international organizations have deemed tools like early screening tools like Onco Alert as critically needed. Now, we are targeting the large market of preventive healthcare through a business model where we have identified 4 revenue sources: B2B via insurance health companies, B2B via private clinics, hospitals, and home healthcare companies, B2D via distribution to dental clinics and oral surgeons, and finally, the bigger chunk B2G, which is through inclusion into government screening programs, which is nationwide, and public screening programs. All this with the estimated gross profit of 80 to 100%. Now, how will we monetize it? I will be brutally honest. We are not manufacturers. We know our strength and limitations. We are R&D scientists. So we will be strategically optimizing the value chain through contract manufacturing, which will lead to an accelerated go-to-market. Then we will scale up operations, commanding the regional markets. And then to target the cross-country expansion, we will leverage power partnerships either via sub-licensing or M&A. We want to keep focusing on the innovation because we have multiple leads, and the market for non-communicable disease IVD is a whooping $50 billion in 2025. Now, we may look very young and early, but we have covered some serious ground within just 1 year. Our alpha prototype has been validated by experts at AIMS and BMGF, Bill Melinda Gates, and Department of Biotechnology. We did an intensive clinical immersion at top 3 hospitals of India with a combined daily footfall of 1 million patients, where we interacted with hundreds of patients, their caregivers, and everyone involved and got their feedback. Now, we also did an extensive landscaping of the manufacturer, so we know the supply chain, the manufacturing setup, so we can truly scale Onco Alert. Our beta prototype is underway with IIT Madras as they have partnered us. Our IP is secured, and we have obtained all the necessary clearances required, and we are on course with a pilot clinical evaluation and finally go to market. Now, the large market opportunity that we have here is of preventive healthcare. It is expected to grow at a CAGR of 12.6%. And to one of our strong advantage, our nearest competitor, Sascan Medtech, has only made 2% of this market share, which presents us this incredible opportunity to capitalize on. Now, our top-down market analysis tells us that we have a dedicated SOM of 36 crores and a total addressable market of 10,000 crores. Now, why are we so better and ahead of everyone? To conclude, I would say that all of these tools are illumination tools. They just help you to see better. So essentially, they are great for someone sitting in a fancy clinic in Delhi or metro, because the moment you take them to tier 3 city or villages, they fail incredibly. That's why all of them fail to meet the WHO's assured criteria for point of care devices, whereas OncoAlert is truly point of care, accurate, accessible, and affordable, democratizing and decentralizing the healthcare. Now, as you must be aware, deep tech requires substantial amount of capital to even generate the point of proof of concept with wet labs and all the facilities that are required. Till now, we've been supported by DBT, Department of Biotechnology, and REST Bootstrap. And we are so excited for the possibility of all of you becoming a key ally in this mission. And that's it. That's my ask. And any great idea is just an idea without proper execution. And we have an exceptional team at place, from Dr. Chatali, who is expert with nanomaterials, Dr. Shweta, who is a wizard in laboratory. And we have been guided by the best of best in the business, from Dr. Ravi Karan, who is a Raymond Magsaysay awardee, to Dr. Pankaj Chaturvedi, the best oncosurgeon in India, and Dr. Gagandeep, who is from Bill Melinda Gates Foundation, and wonderful mentors from Together and Shaina and Pari. Now, our sustainability and social purpose is deeply embedded in our vision. We ultimately want to bring preventive healthcare and contribute to the public health of India. At last, I would just like to end this by saying your PIN code shouldn't predict your lifeline. No one should die of a cancer which can be easily detected like Amit did. We are bringing accurate cancer screening to your doorstep. I realize this is a difficult journey, but I believe with my team and allies like all of you, it is the one worth taking. Thank you for your time and attention. Help us make oral cancer screening easy.
Thank you. And Ankur, you're up first this time.
Thanks, Chris. Jayanti, a wonderful presentation. I think one of the very few where I could clearly understand the model, the product, the offerings. Not many questions I have, just a couple of. You mentioned somewhere that the accuracy or sensitivity is around 95%. Is this validated, certified by the authorities? Will you be able to claim that?
Yes. So the validation happens in a very stepwise manner, Ankur. Like, you can't just go around and test it on people. That you won't be allowed to. CDSO won't allow it. So you test in manners. So you test in vitro validation and then in vivo, which is pilot clinical validation. So in vitro, ours has been validated, and it is not at all. It's much more than the current available tools, which are not even accessible to people. So we're bringing accuracy accessible to the patient's level, to people's level. So it has been validated in vitro, yeah.
Fine, got it. I think fair enough. One last question. In your experience and maybe while doing the research, how frequent the usage of this kit would be for any adult, or maybe I just want to understand the usage per user kind of a thing, if you have it.
This will. So, if you might be aware, so Government of India has 3 priority cancers, which is oral cancer, cervical, and breast cancer. For these 3, they have mandated guidelines that who should be screened, and this is the criteria. So, if you go by this, that is men and women above 30 years of age and who have chronic smoking and alcohol. That is almost half of our population. So, this is the scope that we are dealing with.
Oh,
But
fair
when you
enough.
look at
Like,
from
is there a preference that they should be testing this every year, twice a year, once in 5 years? That's what I want to know.
Oh, sorry, I missed the mark. It's once in a year you should be tested. That's why we are trying to include it into the health checkups that you do, private insurance or government insurance. So once in a health checkup, it should be included in that way.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you both. Ajay, over to you.
A great product, Jayanti. Might be just the unit economics. Could you just go deeper into that?
Okay, so I would give you a very rough idea. I would not give false promises since it
Sure.
is under pilot evaluation. So we will be selling it for around about 100 rupees, 90 to 100 rupees. And when the unit economics kick in, the cost of production to us will be definitely under 10 rupees. People in industry are doing it for 7 rupees. We're just taking the buffer, and under 10 rupees will be the cost of production for us.
Got it. Sure. Thanks.
Isha?
Hey, Jayanti, thanks. A very inspiring problem statement to go after. When you were presenting, I think one of the questions in my mind was, is the problem that the ways to test or test effectively or test in a DIY or home kit fashion don't exist? Or is it that people do not get tested at the right time, right? Like how many people who end up with oral cancers, the problem was they never got tested versus they went for a test and it wasn't detected, right? So from that lens, I wanted to understand your product, how, because this is also coming from, there are a lot of oral testing kits available in the market, right? Why would having one more change anything drastically on ground?
Yeah. So as far as I'm aware, for oral cancer screening at home, point of care testing is not available. There are a lot of tests. I'm aware like Supriya Sciences are doing good perfect, but all of those are not point of care, by which I mean you will still need a doctor to perform and interpret the results. You can't do it at your own and interpret a result and then. So it's still limited to hospitals and clinics. The problem lies at the bottom of the pyramid rather than hospitals and all. The solutions are available for hospitals because there are equipments and all. At the bottom of the pyramid, at patient level, at people level, nothing is available which they can do DIY or do it themselves, and like you do for a lot of different diseases. Most of those
Yeah, so
are
that
under
was
supervision of doctor.
correct. And that was my question, right? Like, if let's say these kits are available, tomorrow somebody sitting in a village is not going to order these kits and do it themselves, right? It is still going to be administered as a part of your health checkup that is done by governments, in which case they will be carrying tools. So, want to understand from your perspective, where do you see the needle moving with something like this?
So there are two scenarios here. One is in the hospitals and all, one the basic rural places. So in all of those situations, currently the visual screening is done. And in the villages, the visual screening is done by an ASHA who has a very limited training, and most of the time high risk cases are missed. So there it will have the majority of impact. And in the like cities and all, this will provide the convenience and painless alternative. If I just give you an example, our pilot clinical evaluation is just enrolling. We are enrolling patients. I had a pre-malignant patient who came for biopsy. He has come thrice. He has been coming for 3 weeks. Biopsy itself is not as accurate. It's a gold standard, but you have to do it very particularly from the border, not from the inside where necrotic tissue is or other healthy tissues. So it takes 2 to 3. It is also very erroneous. And he's like, if somebody just tells me it's precancerous, is cancerous or not, I will be very happy. So that is the gap that we have. Either we have visual, either we have biopsy. There's this big gap where nothing is available for patient at their disposal.
Got it. Thanks. Thanks, Jayanti.
Thank you. Naaman?
Great, Janti. Great presentation. I love seeing the founder market fit with your medical degree and very interesting being an investor. Didn't really know the prevalence of oral cancer that way. I think where a lot of people, you've got the science, you've got the technology, but it's that go to market. I think I saw like 2024, 2025. It's really important on how you go to market. You can have the best technology or the best product, but how are you going to sell? What's going to be your technique to be able to sell this product?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we realize that we are not going to manufacture this, but the infrastructure that is available for manufacturing these kind of kits is very, if there's a right time to invest in to take benefit of this, it's right now. Just 100 kilometers from me, there is SD Biosensor who does national level production of these kind of materials. So rather than just going and setting up a plant ourselves, we will utilize those and optimize the value chain, and then we will sell as I mentioned, B2B to hospitals, private clinics, and then ultimately insurance companies, and down the line we aim to get it integrated into the national screening programs.
Great, thank you.
Any judges have a second question that you want to ask? I have just a few minutes left. Well, it looks like we're good. Everybody is happy, which is great. Thanks for the presentation. And judges, time for you to deliberate. And Dr. Prasad and I are back on stage.
Hey, Chris, you told us the story about how you thought about Together Five, but I'm sure it must be an iterative process. You guys must have calibrated each time as you moved from one, two, three, four. What was the kind of a design initially that was in your mind to really run such a kind of a very innovative competition? I think it's not competition, something beyond competition, the way I see it. Tell us more about your design thinking.
Thanks for asking the question. I think that, what I love working on at the Schulich School of Business and with York University is the design of courses and programs that really bring work integrated learning scenarios, the doing it scenarios into the classroom. And so I think there's like something magical that happens with a unique combination of the academic being there, the professor leader teaching, then having really compelling, leaders that are currently experiencing that problem or have gone through that problem coming into the classroom. And then also having the opportunity to do and to try. So when you look at the design of the Together mission, you've got that component where we're teaching the students, both, in Schulich, but also the students in India. But to stick with the Schulich students for a moment, we're teaching the students in class. And we're also giving the opportunity to carry that out. Like a lot of times you'd have to wait until you graduated to go out in the world and then actually see what works and what doesn't work. And we're also trusting them with a very big mission of saying, like, you're very capable. You have all your experiences. You have all of your training at Schulich, and then you have the specific class, the Together mission that you're taking. And we trust you and believe in you to come up with great contributions and great ideas for working with these young startups. And so on that side, I think that's like, a key piece. On the side, in terms of like the students from India, one thing that I think is very unique about the design is that as opposed to just being in a process where, oftentimes an academic approach would be like, okay, you need to go and we're going to teach you, and then you're going to go off and do it on your own, and you'll either do it well or you won't do it well. But instead, on the side for the Indian students, they've got the Schulich students who are learning along with them, have been going through similar training programs. Then if they're stuck, or maybe they have a blind spot and they're not missing something, they have the Schulich student sitting on their shoulder to be able to say, more like this, less like that. Let me go get some framework that I had from another class to bring in. Let me bring my talents into the picture. And then you've got the mentors on top of that. So it's very much more real world, because the real world, you can call a friend when you have a problem. You can reach out to people in network. You can go looking for support. You're not left in an isolated bubble where there's not this kind of thing. So I think that kind of recognition in the design is really important. That peer-to-peer learning and training that happens, that's in there. And then I think what's also really interesting in terms of like the design of the course on the Schulich side is that often courses will teach in like theory of, maybe big principles of startups that are out there in the world and have scaled off into unicorns and this type of thing, and use more generic examples. But what we decided to do was actually take the competition and then continue to mine the competition for content that then goes back into the course. So, for example, when the students from Schulich are working on assessing a startup pitch and what's going well, what's not going well in it, how they would do it differently, looking at how the judges are asking questions and understanding them. It's not just taught in theory. The content in the class is the videos of the previous competitions. So it's very relatable and very clear. When you go through this process and you go into the competition, you've been learning about a real scenario, a real set. What would you do differently for this company now that you're watching them? And then you get to go get your version of that and do this year's version of it. So I think that's pretty cool and unique to have evergreen content coming back into the course, because we know a lot of things in the academic world, the course is the course and it stays the course for like 10 years. It's the same thing and teaching the same thing. So that kind of like live injection of refreshed content and perspective coming back into the course. And also each year the guests are different, because you can bring back, now there'll be companies here today that are in the competition that in 3 years in the class will have gone off and achieved incredible things, and they're going to be coming back as special guests. We'll be inviting them, and we hope they'll be like, I think they'll be excited to come and speak to the next set of students. And they're coming back in and they're talking to the students. So injecting this kind of the real content from the competition into the design on all these levels also shows all the students that we're not just saying, trust us, if you do these things, it'll work. They're going, no, we watched it and it worked. And now we get to watch as these companies grow. And we know that what we're doing is also fundamentally important as students here in this moment, because what they're working on is going to lead to impactful outcomes economically and from a sustainability or social impact perspective. So it's also very motivating, I think, to work on things that you realize I'm going to get to point to one day as my class, and not just individual teams. The whole class is in the process. So I encourage the class to celebrate the champion as not like, well, it wasn't my team, the team that won. No, the champion is the collective output of the process. It's the collective output of the academic exercise. So the champion is all of our champion. And the companies in the top 6 are all of our top 6 companies, and top 10 companies, all of ours together. And what they achieve and go do is, an outcome of that whole process. So I think those are some elements in terms of how I think about designing these kinds of experiences for the students as much as it's designing classes.
Yeah. Chris, I just wish that each word you spoke right now, we transcribe it. And you just put it so well. It's such an innovative design, I must say. You guys must take an IP for that. This is beautiful. It's a great real world simulation, keeping the content live and I would say even contextual in some sense. And the together concept, when you bring in people from 2 countries together, you have a different cultural behavior, how people look at the problem, how they attempt to solve it. I would go one step and ask you to conduct a similar course to other several academia in India, that how could they introduce such a kind of a design in their entrepreneurship program. So that there has to be, I feel, I'm not saying training of trainers, but inspirational session to show this model as an example to go ahead.
I like
So
that.
thank you so much,
I like
Chris.
that.
Yeah,
Let's
do
set
that.
let's set that up
Let's
and
do
let's
that.
do that. We're building, designing on the fly here today, coming up with
Yes.
new ideas and new ways of working together. I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
with that,
Okay.
we will come to presentation number 5. And
Yes.
moving right along, we will welcome Proton Craft to the stage. And when you go to full screen share, if you can go to full presentation, thank you. And I will count you in 3, 2, 1, go.
You all can see our smile here. It was just for the photo. In reality, we were horrified. The refinery you see was emitting 600 tons of toxic industrial waste every single day. And this is just one. There are many more in India. Now imagine the environmental impact by 800 refineries worldwide. Due to the inefficient treatment of this waste from the refineries, results in the harmful byproduct like sulfur dioxide, which leads to acid rain and destroying our national treasure, Taj Mahal. And also the acidic water, which is very harmful for the marine life and even cancerous for nearby communities.
That's where Protongraph comes in. Our unique patent pending electrolyzer technology allows refinery to transform their toxic waste into green hydrogen on site, which they can use to power their own operations, thus saving on transportation and storage costs and creating a circular economy. The only byproduct is sulfur, which refinery can sell into a well-established market, 14.5 billion, and all significantly reducing the harmful waste released into the environment. All refineries in the world need hydrogen to operate, but right now they use gray hydrogen, which releases 14 kilograms of carbon dioxide for every kilogram of hydrogen produced. Government worldwide are pushing this refinery to use gray hydrogen. While it's much cleaner, green hydrogen requires incredibly high energy to produce, making it difficult for industry to adopt on large scale. Here is where Protoncraft stands out. We turn waste into valuable green hydrogen that is as affordable as grey hydrogen and as clean as green. So, how does the technology works? Our technology significantly reduces energy consumption in hydrogen production while making it 4 times more efficient than traditional method. By using a novel catalyst, we oxidize sulfides at a much lower voltage between zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.5 volt compared to traditional water splitting which requires around 2 volt. This innovation not only cuts cost but also improves sustainability.
Our main product, hydrogen, which is an alternative energy source, has a promising future with the growing market of 7.8 CAGR. It has an estimated market size of $410 billion by 2030. Here is where we are today. We have tested in the lab, it works. We have tested in the industry, it passed. And now, with this electrolyzer cell, which is a fundamental unit for a big plant electrolyzer, it's ready to scale for a pilot. And we have applied for the patent in India and applying for the global PCT. In fact, we have an LOI from one of the largest refinery of India, Indian Oil, to set up a pilot at their Panipat refinery. And also, we are in conversation with their R&D team to work collaboratively and convert this LOI into a full-fledged contract. So, why this refinery wants to work with us? Simple. We provide them a solution which is much cleaner than the existing process. Right now, with their current traditional method, these refineries are converting this waste into sulfur and steam, which has modest value. But with our technology, they can convert this waste, hydrogen sulfide, into very valuable green hydrogen. This is not only helping the refineries to increase their revenue, but also helping them to achieve their net zero goal by 2047, which is their goal. And with this hydrogen, we are making them a cleaner and the best place to clean. And we have tested our technology at a large scale, and as we are increasing their revenue by 81%, and this 81%, we charge a commission of 15% on their overall technology. This is how our revenue models work. Correct. First, refinery adopts our technology and invest capex to build over it, and this increases their revenue by significant amount, about 81%. And and we charge 15% commission on this increased revenue. We have calculated it cost a lot of capex for the refinery, but our calculation shows it can break even in next 2 years.
We are already in conversation with the same refinery to start big scale production by 2027. We will be able to process 600 tons of waste, generating $4 million per year from only single refinery. With 2 refineries, we can almost double our revenue. And just by working with our current partner, we have access to 9 more. If the revenue doesn't excite you, maybe the impact will. We are driving the world closer to achieving the UN Sustainable Developmental Goals, addressing 4 SDG at once. We will reduce carbon emission equivalent to 1 million rocket launches, improving the lifestyle of nearby people who are exposed to this deadly toxic waste. To make our vision a reality, we have partnered with Ion Exchange, a leader in environmental solution with a market cap of $1.4 billion, and Lognite, material known for their advanced energy technology with a market cap of $228 million. We are also supported by IIT Roorkee, ranked 6th in India, which help us with our research and innovation. Rahul is a PhD candidate in energy. Kunal specializes in physics. I am Ritik, studying electrical and electronics engineering. We are backed by accomplished mentors as well as Dr. Sanjay Bhargava, ex-executive of Bharat Petroleum. We are the right team to change the energy industry for good. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go to Naaman for first question.
Great presentation, guys. I think I was really impressed with the LOI with India Oil. Again, I'm focusing on sales again. Can you maybe tell us how you got that LOI and what is the second customer that's going to come after this one?
Yeah, right now, we were working since last year September to develop the technology, and Rahul has a PhD thesis and everything on this particular technology. And after we reached the TRL 5, which is tested at industrial grade hydrogen sulfide, we were in contact with that Panipat refinery, and we visited 2 or 3 times there. So we got a data sheet mentioning the grade at which hydrogen sulfide they process at their waste. So we got the intelligence from the refinery and tested in the lab at IIT Roorkee, and we got a very good result, and we shared with them. And also we were at the Hult Prize at London. We were top 6 global finalists. So we asked them to give the LOI. They were very interested to give, and also working for a contract with R&D team.
Great. And who's the next customer going to be? Like, who takes that sales role or, moving beyond India Oil?
Yeah. So
Actually,
we are in yeah.
yeah,
We are in basically contact with a lot of refineries. When we presented our technology at Hult, so we got offer from Shell, BP, and also in Indian giants like ONGC and BP to work with them. But as we were working with Indian Oil since long, so we stick with that for a first pilot. But second, you can see our one of mentors is Sanjay Bhargava, who is the head of Bharat Petroleum. So it is also one of the biggest refinery in India. So we are open for any refineries once we have it done with the pilot and the compliances.
Great, thank you.
Isha?
Thanks, guys. Great presentation. I had a similar question as Naman. Very, very impressive about the India Oil LOI. What is the size of a contract if that comes through? And what do your usual sales cycle for, let's say, selling this concept to a refinery look like? What is the capex they are supposed to invest if they go through with this? Can you maybe walk us through some of these points?
Okay, so right now we have an LOI for 50 kg hydrogen plant. We will be able to treat 850 tons of waste per day. This is for the LOI, and the sales process work currently we developed the technology and we have a patent for it. We apply the refineries build their whole electrolyzer plant based on our technology. We will assist them to build this one using external contractors like EIL and others. So once the technology is ready, and they will see the revenue boost, and we will charge commission based on their revenue with our technology.
So what is the capex required for a refinery to implement this, and what is your projected, let's say, cost? What would be your revenues from, let's say, if this LOI for this 50 kg plant goes through?
Yeah.
Trying to
So
understand
like
more.
right now, like with the current refinery Panipat at India, the basically capex at the full scale is $50 million, but that will break even in next 2 years.
And how much will you guys make?
We will make basically around $4 million from just one refinery.
All right.
Annually. Basically, it's a constant. It's an project with an IRR of 81%. So we will be constant revenue for next 10 years of 81 of like $4 million from just very small refinery. This is just a one of the small refinery of Indian Oil, but there are many more in India, like 11 refineries with much bigger capacity. So we can have a much bigger revenue.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Ajay?
Hey, great presentation. Just quickly, right? Competition, how does that look like? And you know, this whole break even by the refinery, is there a way that this actually, let me rephrase that. Why would they pay you for a percentage of the savings? Why wouldn't they say a one-time charge, right, for your technology, for your solution?
Yeah, so basically we have a patent for the technology, and we don't want to restrict this technology to just one refinery. There are many more: Cell, ONGC, and BPCL. So as like we are in talk with all the refineries. So IOCL have also pressure like to put and to negotiate with our terms.
Okay, and how does the competition look?
Um,
Just a minute. Yeah. So right now, basically, gray hydrogen, and there is no one in this space for hydrogen sulfide, converting hydrogen sulfide into hydrogen and sulfur. We have figured out a new method to do this, but there are major players in the gray hydrogen and green hydrogen. So I think right now there is no one.
So the dollars you mentioned here is translating the capex cost into operational cost, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like right now, we have calculated the levelized cost of hydrogen, which is contributed of like whole capex, opex, maintenance, energy, everything. Like we have a very detailed model of unit cost for this.
Ankur?
Hey, thanks, guys. I think most of the questions are covered. Just one quick, I think I missed it. In your experience, how much time will it take from a presentation to one refinery to get the project live, up and running? From the sales, from the process order, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. So like right now, 1.5 year for the next pilot of 50 kg plant, and further it will take around like 12 months to build the first plant after 1.5 years.
And then largely it's a cycle of 12 months, you're saying, for every new project.
Yeah.
So basically, we will be outsourcing our manufacture to other manufacturers. So it will like we will create a chain of manufacturer to take more plant setup for another refineries too. If it is taking 12 months, so for single refinery.
Got it.
Yeah.
Fine. I think there's one question in the chat box also, happy if you can answer that also. Wouldn't the capex of 15 million per refinery be a deterrent hurdle to purchasing licensing this?
Yeah, as I mentioned previously, like they can purchase and license it, but right now we are already in talk with the biggest refinery of India, not only IOCL. So there are many people working like trying to work with us and wanted to get a part of the technology. So we are going with IOCL because we started with IOCL, and they also knew it. So that's why they are agreeing to our terms and conditions.
Fine, and thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any judge have a second question? Okay. Thank you, team. We will let the judges deliberate and appreciate the presentation. We'll bring Dr. Prasad back to the stage. And my question for you this time around, Dr. Prasad, is, you talked about the increasing focus of environmental consideration and social governance within the startup space. And, talk to me about your reflections on how that's becoming increasingly important with investors. And then I'd also like to ask you to expand a little bit more about the work that's going on with Ekonnect as well, too, because you should have an opportunity to talk about that. So we'll take those two questions next.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. So the term ESG, as you know, was driven mainly from the investor community. And then, of course, the principles were anyways there with the multilateral development banks, some of the large private equity funds. And then the lens came that if you are going to be investing, then you have to have a framework, which are basically principles on the environment, social, and governance. So if any startup today is looking for funding from such investors, they will have to show in their business how are they embedding the environmental social governance considerations. And this is the very first ask which has been coming in repeatedly from the investors. And when that happens, the typical business planning process needs to identify what are the environmental social governance related risks and whether these risks are addressed very well in business planning. So one of the approaches was really to hedge against the risk due to environmental regulations, concerns, social concerns, and also governance was considered as a very important pillar, which brings, in fact, a kind of financial stability to the business. But then slowly, what I am finding that the risk perspective is changing into an opportunity perspective. And this is exciting that people are finding that if they reconfigured their business models, where they have a very strong impact story, and that impact story has a great economics, where you're going lean, reducing your resources inputs, you are finding circularity in whatever waste and emissions that you are generating. That makes the business case much stronger. So the opportunity element stepped in post the initial very narrow risk perspective. And that's where I'm finding that tomorrow's startups will by default consider sustainability as a central point on which they will build their business. Ekonnect Knowledge Foundation is a company which is not for profit, and we are today an India node of a very large initiative by the United Nations, which is called SEED. So we represent SEED program in India, and we focus only on environmental entrepreneurship. So by now, we have been coaching around 250 startups who are doing pretty well, and they have discovered sustainability more like a material or what we call material thinking to make their businesses stronger and impacting. So we continue doing hackathons. We continue to work with companies who sponsor such events. We provide access to finance. We have partnership with many investors so that we want to make the circle complete so that the startups not only are mentored, but they also get access to innovative finances. So that's our role, and we want to, of course, grow more and help more and more startups in other countries as well, which we are doing. So we're quite active in apart from India, and therefore we look at partnering with Schulich as a very important milestone in our journey towards growing entrepreneurship in environment in India. Thank you for asking, Chris.
Oh, you're welcome, Dr. Prasad. And I think very interesting and a real blessing that you found us, read about us, came to know about what we were doing, and reached out on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Toronto. Let's meet."
Yes.
And Shrey and I knew from the moment that we met you that you were someone special with a lot of insights and talents and boundless energy, which we all love, and a really great team. So it's been a real pleasure working with your group this year. Very dialed into the ecosystem, but also just everyone who we're working with from Ekonnect has a big heart and a bright mind. And so you've really built a really nice team there. So thank you for teaming up
Thank
with
you
us.
so
We
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, with that, we'll bring our judges back to the stage and we will get ready for our final presentation. Number 6, we have UDOT up, and they will bring us home before we send the judges into deliberations and debate, and we'll continue on with the program while they do that. But first, we'll have our final presentation in UDOT.
Hi, everyone. So
Great. And
this is, yeah.
Let me count you in. Just got to get the timer. So get yourself on full screen.
Yeah, just a second.
That's great. And now we'll count you in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kaviraj. I'm the founder of UDOT. I was in my 7th semester at IIT Guwahati, just building crazy stuff yet again. I told my co-founder Lalika, hey, I think I found something that will revolutionize things for the blind. And she told me, okay, that's all cool, but at least go to a blind school to find out if they want it. 6 months down the line, after a lot of just volunteering and helping children out, we came to our problem statement. We're building a tactile touchscreen to revolutionize how people access information. And on top of that touchscreen, we are building educational tools and other information access tools to make sure that visual impaired children are almost as equal as sighted in the field of science and math, and going ahead are able to participate equally in all aspects of society. The schools that we went to, none of the kids were doing science or math. In fact, they were so dejected that they told, there's no point, let me just drop out. And because they don't have the right skill sets, they have a lesser than 10% employment chance. And this is a future that 17 million children face. Of course, the 200 million adults globally who are also visually impaired face different kinds of problems, but that's later. The reason why these kids are suffering is because visual content is not available. They cannot access the thousands of images, graphs, all of that. Neither can they draw. Now, if I want to solve this, if I'm a teacher who wants to teach a class of maybe 15 blind students, the challenge is very simple. In a regular class, I can stand at the board and teach 15 kids at the same time. Everybody gets the context of what I'm talking about. But in a blind class, it doesn't work out. In fact, even if you create raised line resources, these kids don't understand it because it's just a bunch of squiggly wiggly lines. So the teacher holds their hand, explains the concept, then goes to the next child. This will not work in the real world. So you cannot go to 15 kids and do this. So STEM is dropped. I'm not able to change the slide. Oh, wow. Okay, that's weird. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So the solution for this is fairly simple. We're building a tactile interface, which is basically thousands of erasable dots on the surface. All of these dots are refreshing at more than 5 times a second. Imagine 10,000 dots doing that. A student can feel braille, graphical content. It refreshes so fast you can even feel animations, and it's a touch screen, so you can interact with user interfaces the way we do. It is an audio-enabled environment. But tech is not enough. We need to build an education platform. It would do things that any platform would have: content, experiences, and tools. But we needed 2 more things. We need to figure out how can a blind student comprehend visual content as fast as a sighted kid. So I will not disclose the methods here, but we have different animation techniques so that they do that. The second is, I want a teacher without extra training to be able to teach 15, 20 kids at the same time. That is what will unlock educational systems. The second thing we needed to unlock was online content, which is not possible right now. So we've built content delivery tools that enable that. So along with this, the entire platform comes together where children can read, write, draw, and teachers can create, and a whole learning experience is created, which makes them equal. A tactile display, at least, is not a very new concept. I mean, European Union, US government have put out funds telling who builds this, we will spread this device out in all the markets for free. Nobody could. MIT, UPenn, you Google the university, they've tried to build it. They couldn't until in 2015, a company came by telling that, okay, the technology is really bulky. What if I make it small and make it into a watch? A watch to read the time for people who knew Braille. Very small number of people, but still got $40 million in just pre-orders. So these guys knew, okay, if I solve the graphics problem, I'll get billions. They did start the dot pad, the same guys. But then when they gave it to the kids were still struggling. Before I talk about that, tactile displays, kind of disrupt two existing markets: the market of single line braille, which is their script, and the market of embossing. So Dot is the only current successful tactile display company in the world, and their price, unfortunately, is almost $65,000 for a 10K for a proper screen, and it has a very, very slow refresh rate. And the next problem is they do not have the educational breakthroughs, the content access breakthroughs that we have. So within a year, we've made technology that's 7 times cheaper, 8 times faster, and also innovating on content access. There's a lot of children globally, but we are only looking at the SAM of children who are either in developed countries under policies or are in developing nations under schools or institutes which actually want to adopt STEM or are looking to adopt technology. Cumulatively, that translates to a sum of $20 billion. So far, we have gotten around $74,000 in grants. And this is a video where a multiple disability child in his 10th grade was able to comprehend the concept of light double refraction. We've done this several times. This guy never even had access to science after the 6th grade. And this is the first module that we built that refreshes and proves the 5 hertz refresh rate, the cost advantage that we have. And also, this is something we built with our own hands. So this shows how easy it is, the modularity approach that we've taken. We have a lot of partners supporting us in this journey. And in our first phase, we already have a few partners, blind schools and NGOs with an access to 12,000 students. So leveraging this, we will be approaching a CSR partner and get the funds in to actually do the pilot in a blind school. The pilot will be with 30 blind students, and we will build 1,000 MVPs for that. We're also filing a patents on several layers of the technology. Community building is already starting. We are building the trust in our users right now itself. After this, we wanted to scale global pilots with larger devices, a better offering, and somewhere around the 18th month, we will start to get revenue. B2B might be the route we go through first, but only after some engagement, we'll find out. B2C, B2G, and other options are also something on our mind. The model of pricing will be cross-geographic. It will be an upfront hardware purchase plus a educational subscription. So it's a combination of that. Typically, BOM and all costs included, we look at around $3,000 per device, the cost for us, and the LTV would be close to $20,000. Our first year target of revenue is $3 million, which translates to around 150, 160 devices. So we want to crack one major deal. After 36 months going ahead, our information access breakthroughs and our technology breakthroughs will help us elevate outcomes in every aspect of life. We'll also be probably exploring tech licensing if the right things work out. Our team, me and Lalika, are co-founders from college. I'm the tech guy. She's a user research person. We've been supported by our amazing Schulich mentors and team. That's actually gotten a lot of cool ideas in the recent days. We also have a blind intern with us who's been doing this for the last 6 months. The ask here is $650,000 Canadian dollars, and most of it will go in line with product development and piloting. Only towards the end, we'll be looking at marketing and all that. And the grant, the 10,000 Canadian dollars, will actually be to implement 10 devices in a blind school. We are only proving one simple thing. A regular teacher can teach 15 kids any concept. We will take the chapter of light and finish it in the same time as a normal school and get almost the same outcomes. That is all we want to prove, and that value will be what kickstarts our global growth. We are Tactol. We are UDOT building Tactol, and looking forward to your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the presentation. Ankur, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah. Hey, hi. I think a very noble market and product. Few questions largely on have you been able to identify and measure the learning outcomes over let's say these 30 students where you're doing a pilot?
We want to do that. So right now is we've just built our first module. So I will tell you the pilot will be at least 2 months away, but I'll tell you what we've done. For the last 1.5 years, our team has been frugally, testing out different methods. So even our tactile display was frugally simulated, and we've done this over several classes and several concepts. So we've done a concept level validation, not a chapter long validation, but a concept level one. That's where even the multiple disability child was able to get concepts which typically would be impossible in 5 minutes. We've measured these outcomes in a lot of different concepts across subjects, but it is one off. It is not a full-time thing spanning a month or week or something like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
What do you think? No, fair enough, fair enough. What do you think? What would be your biggest challenge? Because in the companies where, let's say, I have invested in a couple of hardware first innovation companies, pilots are successful, but largely it's a hardware related challenges or testing out your learning outcomes. What do you think? Will become a hurdle for you to largely make it commercializes?
Okay, so maybe I'll go with the learning outcomes first. So we've kind of tried to understand how these outcomes are measured. So measurement of these is actually a really tricky thing. So the few parameters we are even now doing it with is simple test scores and basic comprehension tests that we've designed. Apart from that, the two other parameters, the time taken to complete the syllabus and the teacher's burden level. And another thing is the average score of the class. So what happens right now is 15 kids, if there are 15 kids in the class, because of the way teaching works, at least 10 kids are left out. So the average and median score are two things we're looking at. Now the hurdles. So a teacher not being willing to adopt technology is a potential challenge. We have tried to keep the group of teachers we work with very varied to kind of counter this, but I think these problems could come up in the pilot, and that is where we will try to solve them. The next thing is the hardware. So this is 10,000 dots, a lot of moving parts. But we've been able to build a display module within 1 year because we have used an approach of extreme modularity, ease of fabrication, simple raw materials, and easy assembly, something we could do by hand. So what that has enabled us to do is when an error occurs, we can very easily pinpoint it, and without just so we don't have to go break down the entire system to kind of fix the error. It is like precision fixing, and it is done. You don't need like high-end facilities or training to do that. So even when we are selling these devices, the fixing could happen at the consumer end or the distributor end itself. The other thing is in terms of wear and tear of the mechanism. That's the next danger in hardware. And our mechanism is almost 10 times less wear and tear. So when I'm telling 10 times less wear and tear, I'm talking about the frictional forces, the movements within each micro actuator to be able to cause a movement. So that gives us an inherent advantage. Also, we've done like 100,000 cycle testing and all that, but that's just the early stage. Going ahead, we'll do a lot more. I hope that answers a few bits.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ajay?
Hey, Kaviraj. Quick question. Can the bundling I understand, but can the content be produced by someone else and can the hardware be yours?
Yes. So the interface I cannot show. This is a live call, but typically even NGOs. So there's a way of creating content that we've come up with. Something like a video. For all of us, it's like audio plus. This is one of the features. So audio plus imagery. For them, it is audio plus dynamic tactile in the comprehension methods that we've built. So NGOs, even now, we're trying to see if NGOs will be able to create content, which is of course what we will do. So they can create something akin to video content. So wherever they are, right? Either it's the institute or an NGO or even us, maybe in the beginning, would be able to create content modules. Apart from that, of course, we'll have APIs for other. So we also understand the need for gamification in these kind of multiple disability or disability areas. So we'll have APIs for those kind of creations as well. But starting with pure content.
And this in your head is always a school-led program it cannot be a direct individual student using it.
So the things you need to unlock education is, one is of course the teacher provide. So if I'm understanding the question, one is the teacher's interactions with the student, but
Oh, no,
oftentimes
I'm
that,
asking,
yeah.
I'm asking, can it be, just a parent taking it?
Right, correct. Yes. So the educational platform eventually have content modules and all of these other features which cater to the gaps, right? So a teacher teaching is the experience which is akin to a video. So that part and the other parts where the child needs to learn or whatnot will be available on the device within the educational platform. And of course, the parent will also have the ability to teach the child. It's just that right now, at least for the first, I would say, at least for the pilots, our focus would never go on parents, but that is something we will explore when we do our global pilots.
Thanks.
Thank you. Isha.
Hey, Kaviraj, thanks. Great presentation and a very impressive demo. What is your ultimate vision with this Kaviraj? I do see that you're starting off with the STEM education for the visually impaired children, but potentially could also have, other applications because the larger market is also the 200 million visually impaired adults. Right. So what is like in 10 years, what do you see this tech unlock and what do you want to make of this company?
Okay, so it's always, I've seen a recurring theme when we build even one-off innovation, like one-off educational solutions, that it always comes down to some sort of visual access problem. That there is an alternative means of consuming that content, like potentially audio based, which does not work, and hence you need to figure out how to do that. So my goal is one, refine that. We've been able to do this in a year. We will be able to do much more going ahead. So figure out what is that touch-based element that represents peak information access. So even now we've been doing that. Like our refresh is instant. Like it happens, all the dots refresh at the same time, whereas people do something called multiplexing, where row by row the dots refresh. We're also working on touchscreen technology where blind people can, people explore with fingers, 10 fingers at the same time. Typical touchscreens won't work with that. So I want to put these technology bits together and these information access breakthroughs that we're able to do together, and look at everything being solved by either this or a combination of things, whether it is navigation or jobs where you're a coder or you want to do something else. So wherever vision has to be replaced with non-visual access, those themes will be encompassed by our solutions.
Thanks, Kaviraj.
Thank you. Neiman.
Great. I know you had a great presentation, by the way. Very altruistic cause as well. You can see how it's commercial. You had a go-to-market slide, but how do you reach these 200 million people cost effectively, to be profitable, to have this 10-year vision that you'll continue to build upon?
Yeah. So, of course, initially we chose education as a starting point because the willingness to adopt technology is a little higher. The gap is more visible, and it's a little more standardized across the world, and there's a lot of policy push in this thing. So we start with education, and one way of going from education to general access is that as the students are growing, this is a device that they will become used to. So then it will naturally apply to other aspects of life when they go into college, when they graduate and whatnot. So that's one stream that is trickling upwards. The other is that by then we would. So this is not talking about the business model maybe, but by then we will also have figured out the starting points in general access, like a person who goes blind and is used to a visual interface, but now is just stuck without an option. So these will be the entry points, and I can't comment on the pricing as of now because we are looking at something up to 20,000 Canadian dollars. So I'm not sure of that, but we have identified a few starting points and a few ways of transitioning from what we have currently in a smooth manner.
Great. And from a competition perspective, is there competitors in this area? Is it big enough to have competition? How do you look at competitors?
Okay. What has happened, I think, in this field is that I told the last 4 decades, right? So a lot of funded projects and not a lot, no success actually. So Dot is one company that's been working. So they've gone big. Dot is the only company. So they've gone big on like patenting. So they have like 150 patents. And so as I mentioned, they're like focusing on general access. So that's one competitor. So I do not see innovation in the general access. But once we go out, of course, things will be a little different. Dot is a company that's been that they took 10 years to do this. We took 1 year to get to this technology. We already have a vision on how to improve the resolution and other important parameters. So in comparison with them, we have a vision on the tech and the information access side. Other competitors, as I'm aware at this point, there's been like attempts, like people have been trying to use different technologies like microfluidics and shape memory alloys and stuff, but it has not worked out. So by philosophy, I don't see a lot of them succeeding because one, the technology has certain gaps, and two, they're not targeting the refresh rate that is actually needed to, including dot, that is actually needed to get that access going, information access right. Am I missing a part of the question? If I am, please let me know.
Thanks, guys. That wraps the question portion on our timer. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll come off share screen. And first of all, I'd just like to say to everybody in the chat, everybody watching, pop in some appreciation and some thank yous for the different companies that presented today. That took a lot of confidence and courage and time and everything that's built up just to this moment of them making the presentation. So let's give them some love and some appreciation in the chat, everybody. And we will have our judges now prepare to head off for their deliberation. Remember that we have a numeric score, but you also have your opportunity to challenge and ask questions of each other and come to your final conclusion. Judges all have the link that's been provided via WhatsApp, so off they go to do their thing. And now we'll move into the next 35 minutes where we have some amazing speakers and special guests. And then we'll bring the judges back when we see them come back. Then we'll get ready for our announcement, which will be exciting. So first off, we're going to welcome our next guest to the stage. This is Namita Vikas, founder and managing director of Octus ESG. And Namita is an award-winning senior business leader, and she has done many, many amazing things. She is an ex-banker with over 33 years, a diverse experience in sectors across banking, finance, and technology. And she's an influential voice in sustainable finance and climate transition globally. This year, she was invited to speak at the UNGA Summit of the Future in September alongside many heads of state. And prior to setting up the company in 2020, she held a leadership position with India's fourth largest private bank. I could go on and on. There's an amazing bio, but I'd rather get her to the stage and introduce her to share her remarks today and her thoughts for the students. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And good evening to everybody. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. And I'm just going to request my colleague Anjali to put up the slides. Yeah, there they are. Okay, so first off, thank you very much. And I must congratulate the Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship of the school's business school at the York University and Ekonnect Knowledge Foundation for an impactful initiative for Together 5.0. I think that's slated to propel self-reliability, sustainability, and social purposes within entrepreneurs. I think that's much needed. And I think bravo to all the shortlisted teams for all the efforts in their pitches. I know it's a tough one. You have to be ready for all those sharp questions that come your way. Indeed, climate crisis is the existential challenge of our time, threatening the environment, communities, economies, on an unprecedented scale. And addressing this crisis really requires full scope of human intelligence and talent to develop transformative solutions. And there you are, young, empowered entrepreneurs who have done so. I think that's brings in a lot of diversity of perspectives, life experiences, creative problem-solving abilities that are much needed to tackle this complex, multifaceted challenge. And I know that some of us are standing between you and the results. But well, this is where we are, and congratulations on brilliant presentations. I was told that before I get into the topic of climate finance, I should talk a little bit about my own experience as an entrepreneur. So I just thought I would bring up the next slide. So Anjali, if you could, yes, bring up that slide. I think that's very. I hope does that seem familiar to some of you? I think being an entrepreneur is not easy. It seems like being coming from a leader in a corporate setting, life may have been a little easier there, but this is another roller coaster, juggling multiple roles, from a business owner to a team member, and it really depends on what hat you're wearing that particular day, how you get up in the morning, how your day starts, and dealing with the duality of significant emotional challenges, going through the whole complex landscape that is there, tough to navigate. So I think that's been mostly my life, and I started this journey in 2020. So I'm enjoying the ride so far, and I'll tell you why so. So if we could just move to the next slide. Well, as I was introduced, thanks for that. For a decade and a half, I was doing sustainable finance and climate transition. We didn't call it that at that point of time, but this work was being done within one institution, and I brought in many first to the market products, issued the first green bond for India, so on and so forth. But I really wanted to see the change within the industry, accelerate global sustainable finance and climate transition. And therefore, I believed that that would come by working with several other institutions. Today, as a 4-year-old global company, we are established in the UK, in India, in North America, in UAE and KSA region. We've done about 23 projects across 17 countries, working predominantly with financial institutions and banks on climate transition and sustainable finance. And the progress has been really good, but there's so much more to do, right? So with a strong advisory board that backs up, with global leaders on the board, we believe that we would be able to achieve the objective of accelerating global sustainable finance and climate transition as we foresee going forward. So with that, let me go on to a little bit of a heavy topic, and that is on the entire global landscape that we see and the crisis that we see ahead of us. So 2024 World Economic Forum's Global Risk Report shows that the climate and environmental risks are expected to comprise 5 of the top 10 risks over the next decade, highlighting the urgency of responding to the pressing risks that are in front of us. Extreme weather events ranked as the most significant risk, with about 66% of the respondents to the report indicating that it could lead to material crisis. And yes, of course, I mean, if you see the global climate vulnerability map of 2024 that's on the screen, you see how the geographical distribution of climate risks and the emphasis of the coordinated efforts that is really required. And high-risk regions are marked with countries most vulnerable to climate-related disasters like typhoons, floods, droughts. And there is a growing realization with, the global community, the global ecosystem, which is mainly regulators, investors, financial institutions, all moving up. Financial sector is realizing how climate crisis is fast becoming an economic and financial crisis, and is no longer just something far away, but that's now impacting their balance sheets and NPA, non-performing asset ratios. This situation is drawing concerns on the safety and the soundness of the banking and the financial institutions, and has now started to bring in instability to the larger financial implications within the banking system. The regulatory landscape is also demanding that investors and other stakeholders look at this changing demography and demonstrate an integrated and strategic approach to how we look at ESG or climate-related financial risks and opportunities in that sense. So let's go on to the next slide. Just a minute to talk about climate finance. And this is particularly, I see that there are young entrepreneurs here. So there is an opportunity for you to borrow under the segment of climate finance that is defined as financial resources and instruments aimed at supporting actions to mitigate and adapt to climate change. And this obviously encompasses the wide range of activities, including investments in renewable energy, green hydrogen, infrastructure resilience, sustainable land management, so on and so forth. And if you look at World Bank, it has delivered about $42 billion in climate change between July of 2023 and June of 2024, witnessing a kind of a 10% increase from the previous year. There are a lot of multilateral development banks who are looking at this space particularly, and the overall climate capital annual requirement, while it stands at 8 trillion, private sector is very, very keen to look at. I believe equity is a little easier to get than debt, but there is concessionality, there is risk capital that is coming forward, and that is the good part about climate finance. So I thought I should put that out before I get into a little deeper onto the subject. So let's go on to the next slide, please. So what's happening really around the world? The global response to climate change has resulted in a diverse array of regulatory initiatives at global, regional, and institutional levels. There are several. However, I have picked up the most relevant to today's times. International frameworks like Paris Agreement, nationally determined contributions by countries, disclosures like TCFD, which is now subsumed with the IFRS, task force on financial related disclosures, nature related disclosures, the recently launched task force on inequality and social related financial disclosures. I think all of these are making this whole space rife with information data that is required, and regional and national regulations like the EU Green Deal or the SEC's climate disclosure laws or the UK's streamlined energy and carbon requirements are bringing to the fore the requirement of a certain reporting culture where data accuracy, data related tools are becoming very, very important. Even if you look at countries like India, the Reserve Bank of India has started to ask their financial institutions for this kind of data. Canadian government, because there is a relationship here with their announcements on expansion of requirements for climate related financial disclosures, is putting a lot of pressure. These are putting a lot of pressure to enhance transparency, to adopt comprehensive risk management strategies to align with global climate goals and address social factors in operations of entities. One particular very important regulatory complex landscape that has come about is the EU, that is the European Union's carbon border adjustment tax or a mechanism. And I want to particularly mention this because this is essentially a carbon tariff that is designed to put a fair price on carbon emissions associated with the production of carbon intensive goods imported into the EU. The primary goal is to prevent carbon leakage, which occurs when companies reallocate production to countries with less stringent environmental regulations, potentially increasing global emissions. So what is this doing? This is becoming a trade barrier where it is increasing cost for importers on account of carbon pricing. The compliance burden as importers must report emissions and purchase CBAM certificates, increasing the administrative and financial burdens, especially companies unfamiliar with the requirement, and the adverse impact on developing countries that have fewer resources to invest in cleaner technologies face higher adjustment costs under CBAM, potentially limiting their access to EU markets and harming their economies. So those who are producing material, not technology, but if you're manufacturing goods, then you have to be very, very aware about the CBAM regulation that is designed to promote environmental sustainability and level the playing field for EU industries It poses to be a trade barrier for non-EU countries and businesses, particularly those with limited capacity to adjust or adapt to the stringent regulation that we are seeing. Landscape that has come about. So if you look at the financial institutions, regulated entities are being mindful of such stringent regulations and have started to contextualize trade with climate policies that are emerging. Disclosures is the highest governance threat, as non-compliance to any local or cross-border holding or investment would be liable for penalties. If you look at ECB, the European Central Bank has declared that it will fine EU lenders on not meeting interim milestones on assessing exposures to climate risks, making them liable to pay a so-called penalty. This may be all symbolic, but I think, these kind of developments have translated into banks and financial institutions looking at their finance strategies and structures by setting ambitious net zero targets and financed emission targets, investing in new sectors or new revenue streams, assessing new sources of green or sustainable capital, and entering new markets. So that's your opportunity where you could tap those sources that are available. And they're also slowly and steadily incorporating nature-related considerations in their lending. And there are examples within India, Canada, other geographies. So, for example, we have the State Bank of India, which is one of the largest national public banks, which by asset size has ESG financing framework to guide its products and services. It has completed its largest syndicated social loan, raising over $1 billion to finance green and social projects. Similarly, say in the Malaysian market, one of the largest banks, BPMB, TDB Canada, other MDBs like Asian Development Banks, all these have taken significant steps in directing allocation towards climate and related segments. And why I'm saying this all, or why I'm sharing all of this, is because borrower is at the core of this. Financial institutions are engaging extensively with hard to abate sectors to create appropriate science-based net zero transition plans, credible decarbonization strategies, and developing comprehensive due diligence guidance to examine efforts and the transition preparedness of their borrowers in between tranches. Granular data is sought now by investors, particularly on something called financed emissions, that is the indirect emissions associated with the activities financed by a financial institution, such as loans or investments in companies that produce GHG emissions. Data shows that total financed emissions of financial institutions on an average is more than 700 times greater than their own operational emissions, and several banks and asset managers are under growing pressure to calculate these and reduce their portfolio emissions, which is also, on the other hand, becoming a huge complex task. So as a result, many have moved towards net zero goals, such as the TD Bank, and they have started to enhance and expand their financed emissions reduction targets through strict calculations and monitoring, which is again putting a big emphasis on decarbonizing operations. So let's go on to the next slide, please. And the next slide is on decarbonization, the need for decarbonization. So businesses have started to realize the advantages of decarbonization, which includes a competitive edge in markets with carbon pricing like CBAM, management of regulatory, reputational, and financial risks associated to climate change, low carbon operations becoming a prerequisite for accessing certain markets, particularly say the EU markets, alignment with the changing investor expectations to attract investment at competitive costs. And now this push to decarbonize has driven significant innovation in clean technology market. Some of you may have are in that space, driving sustainable business models. Multiple climate tech platforms have emerged and are targeting businesses that are looking to decarbonize. By providing requisite tools, data, insights to measure, analyze, and reduce emissions. We have some quick examples on the screen: Watershed, Silvera, Punchma. All these platforms primarily focus on carbon emissions, many expanding their capabilities to address greenhouse gas emissions. And then, on the other side, businesses are also increasingly recognizing the importance of incorporating nature and nature-based solutions into their strategies for addressing climate-related change and building resilience. I would say that while this has, from a banking standpoint, all this has NBS, for example, has started, it is also challenging because there are only limited funding opportunities, high upfront costs, lack of financial incentives, operational complexities, insufficient project pipelines, ambiguous standards, regulatory hurdles, and fragmented stakeholder coordination that exists. And therefore, some of the young businesses in these spaces are not able to get the requisite capital that they could have got. Let's go on to the next slide. And I think this is pretty much one of the last slides that we are looking at. So can we have the next slide? Yes, thank you. So here, I just want to give you a very quick future outlook. Business transformation embedded with sustainable objectives has become the key going forward, and there are strategic shifts that are happening. Companies and financial institutions are fast recognizing that climate change is not only a regulatory requirement, but a significant business opportunity. What are they doing? They've started to integrate sustainability into core business models, in their risk structures, in the overall corporate strategy structures. There are sophisticated tools that are being deployed, processes that are being deployed. Application of technology is on the high, leveraging climate tech solutions or robust sustainability frameworks aided by AI or technology is proving to be extremely beneficial. On the other hand, financial institutions are realizing that increasing exposure to debt and equity in green technologies, in green solution-based market, leveraging the green bond market, sustainability linked bond market is becoming very, very essential. And I think one final point is companies are reimagining the supply chains to future-proof their businesses, incorporating nature-based solutions, circular economy principles within processes has started in a big way. Because we here also have academic institutions, I thought it was interesting to mention that they too have started to look at this curriculum integration, where climate financing modules or interdisciplinary programs around green investment strategies, climate risk strategies are also being offered at a big scale. And of course, climate tech incubators are on there's a big momentum that has picked up in that space. So in short, the future of business strategy will increasingly depend on not just the economic growth, but also the environmental stewardship and the social responsibility that businesses take going forward. I think I've come to the end of this. Next slide is just a thank you slide. And as I conclude, I would say that within the climate space, no longer it can be just a distant concern, but an immediate challenge to reshape the future of businesses globally, because it is becoming an economic challenge. The path forward requires all of us, the whole ecosystem, to come together to future-proof strategies, integrate these into core operations, into businesses, into risk mitigation. And there is a role of educational institutions, which is very pivotal to really shape the thinking of the next generation of leaders who will also take innovation at the core of the solutions that they are providing. Thank you very much. And I've come to the end of my speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Namita, for giving us some time. I know you've been traveling extensively. I believe you must be in the UK at this point of time. So really thank you, to agree to come and speak here. Namita and her company itself is a great example of a very successful startup. I'm calling you as a startup despite your number of years that you are in this industry. But I know Namita so well. We work together. So you are a great example, Namita. And your presentation today has opened up additional opportunities for the startups to look at climate. In fact, the climate tech startups have sharply increased in India. And so I thought your presentation is going to really help. And do reach her out. Some of you who would like to learn how to access climate finance. I'm sure she will be a great help to all of you. Thank you once again, Namita, for coming in.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Bye bye.
Thank you. And our next guest up we have is Rishabh Gupta, MBA of 2018, an alumni who's come back to spend some time with us. You can see him here in this photo with Jason Kalkanis, serial VC investor, one of the besties from the All In podcast. And Rishabh's company is currently part of the Launch Accelerator program. Battling for my voice today, guys, and is calling us from San Francisco today. So we're joined from like all over the world in different ways today. It's great. Rishabh is the CEO of Actuality Live, an AI-driven platform revolutionizing the RFP response process with architecture, design, and construction. With a career that bridges architecture, sustainability, and business strategy, he brings a unique blend of expertise and vision to the tech landscape, and he's a very connected, energized, and important part of the Schulich startups community. And we're glad to have you here today. It's good to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much for the introduction, Chris. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rishabh, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Actuality. At Actuality, we are helping construction companies win more RFPs using AI and XR. We started working on this idea just 3 months ago. And in just 3 months, we built our MVP, got to 130K in ARR, and we are currently in advanced stages in conversations with investors like Jason Calacanis and Drive Capital. Though this might look like an overnight success, but I can assure you that the road to this point was filled with years of failure, self-doubt, constant iteration, and resilience. And today I thought I would share my story with you in a hope that that you might learn from my mistakes and maybe get inspired. So just to give you a little bit of background, I studied architecture back in India and worked in Delhi for one of the top architecture firms. I was really good at sustainable design and was doing quite good professionally. Everyone who was close to me at that point of time told me to do a master's in architecture and sustainable design. And I did get into one of the top sustainable programs in the world at AA London. But something inside me was not feeling right. And around that time, I came across a video from Jeff Bezos where he talked about his regret minimization framework. He said something on the lines that if when you're 80 and you're looking back at your life, would you look at this moment and what decision you're taking and regret the chance not taking that decision or not? Based on that, that day I decided, you know what, I want to learn something new, and I decided that, and I wanted to learn something new and learn about business more, and I started applying for MBA colleges. I did get accepted in Schulich, and suddenly I was among people who had many more years of experience in core business functions. So the road, my time at Schulich was quite challenging. I had to work almost twice of what to pass exams. I almost failed, corporate finance, accounting, and other subjects, because it was difficult for me from the background which I was coming from. But the feeling of constantly learning something new was magical, and that kept me going. So by the end of the program, I did have looking back, by the end of the program, I did have a great toolkit, and that felt quite empowering. Right after that, I started working for one of the biggest office furniture dealerships in North America as a strategist. Among many other things, what I was doing is I was leading their RFP response team, and I helped on more than 100 bids that generated more than $200 million in revenue. But my true thing about entrepreneurship came when pandemic started. My company was everyone in my company was very scared when pandemic started, because suddenly all the organizations across the world were going virtual, and they did not need office furniture anymore. So at that point of time, I thought that people might furnish their home offices with office grade ergonomic furniture, and maybe employers will pay for that. It might look obvious right now, but in March of 2020, it was a stretch to think that employers would pay something to furnish your home offices. So I did convince my senior leadership of the company to start the B2C side of the business. And they gave me a small budget, and we quickly made a website, and it was a complete hit. We were able to partner with companies like Rogers, Silicon Valley Bank, Apple, and many more. And their employees could come on our website, and it was a specialized portal for each of these people, and they could order stuff for themselves. We ended up selling more than $15 million of furniture that year through the channel. And that was my first glimpse towards building something from scratch and executing it and actually getting revenue. It was very, very empowering to feel that. And again, working in that space, and in that project, I came across a few problems. So there was a lot of returns in B2C, much more than you would have, much more than in B2B. And the big reason for that is people were not able to really visualize things in their own space before making a purchase decision, and they would end up returning it and costing us money and also affecting the environment. So I started looking out for solutions. Augmented reality seemed like a good solution so that people can just view a thing in their own space. But all the solutions, this is early 2021, but all the solutions out there at that point of time were very expensive or difficult to use. So I thought to myself, if I'm able to make an easy enough solution which is affordable, I could have a decent business at hand. So I did hire a few developers and started working on a prototype. We made a good prototype, and I then showed it to my then boss. He told me that, Rishabh, if you were to leave this job and start your own company, I'll give you your first seed capital, a little bit of investment to get you started, and I'll also become your first customer. But I was very unsure, because as you know, I'm an immigrant. I was in the country for less than 3.5 years. I had a huge student loan debt, but I was really conflicted, and because I was part of Schulich, I got connected with Chris here, and he did spend a good hour with me to understand the business and everything. And he did at that point of time, he gave me the encouragement required to jump into entrepreneurship. This was around October of 2021. October 2021. He also introduced me to Naman at Antler. That was that I would say was the final push I required. I got into Antler, and that was the final push I required to leave everything and jump into entrepreneurship. And it has been a journey since then. But this was just the start, to be honest. And there are a lot of things I wish I knew, and I listened to people at that point of time. I went to the Antler program. We did not get funded, though we were the only company which had some revenue at the end of it. And I was very not very happy, and I felt bad about it. That I felt wrong rather that this happened. I remember there's a reason I'm telling you all of this. I remember a call from Naman. He called me one day, and he's like, "Hey, Rishabh, I like you, but you need to fix a few things. You need to get a co-founder, and in a true sense." So I did find a co-founder in Antler, but I was like, since I started the company, I already have customers and stuff like that. I don't want to give more than 10%. But that is not a true co-founder in a way. So he told me, Rishabh, I want you to get a good co-founder and have someone who has substantial stake in the company. And I did not think that it was a good advice at that point of time. He also told me that to really look into the business idea and see whether you're building a feature or a product, and whether or not you have sustained competitive advantage. And all these advice, I ignored all of these things, and I was like, I have customers, I should just be at it and go for it. But since then, a very painful journey started. As we grew, all this started coming back to me. I started I was working as I tried a few co-founders with very little equity. The motivation was not there, and they were not fully involved in the project. So I did. It was difficult, and then like finally in 2023, I got the opportunity, got like co-founders which had substantial stake in the company, and now it is much more different than what it used to be. There they show up with their motivation is 110% every day. Moreover, like we did realize as we navigated through the whole thing, we did realize that yes, augment what Naman was saying at that point of time, that like a feature, you're building a feature but with not really a huge competitive advantage would it became true. Like we saw a lot of players coming and it started like really taking a share of what we were doing. We did do well in sales, but like it was getting very, very difficult to do that. So earlier this year, we did take a very hard look on our business, and we pivoted, and we decided that what we will since I have a background in with RFPs and some of our customers were using our services in the for RFPs, we would take a closer look and create a verticalized product in that section in that way, and that has been quite a rewarding thing for us. And just like as I was telling you, ever since that pivot happened, we were able to attract very good talent. We are in conversations with great investors. We are growing fast, and I wish I listened to all the advice which was given to me back in 2021, and I would not have wasted 1.5 years figuring things out the hard way. So the reason I'm telling you all of this is, I would highly recommend folks here who are starting a business to lean on experts. They have seen everything, and to lean on experts and listen to them. One thing, really take a look at your business. It's okay to build a lifestyle business, and if that's the goal. But if you are building a venture scale business, it's important to look at the business model closely. And finally, I would also say, lean on the ecosystem which people have created at Schulich and here to get advice. And if you don't do that, you might end up losing years of crucial time like I did. Thank you.
Dr. Prasad, your thoughts?
Hi, Rishabh, exciting story. What I loved about your story that you talked about so many challenges you face and difficult decisions that you had to go through, but you still came out of it. And that's a great part of it. I think this is something I'm sure for all of us here to really appreciate what is typically a startup has to go through, what can be difficult decisions to take at some point of time, and something like taking a risk which you took at that point of time and you succeeded. Thank you for sharing this experience. Very valuable.
Thanks, Rishabh. We really appreciate it. And I said this in the chat, but I think it's a really honest and open and big-hearted, sincere way to come and acknowledge advice that we were given in the past that we didn't listen to, but that came to be a reality. And so sharing that and giving that message to the early stage founders about listening and reflecting like that is really cool, and appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you so much, Chris.
You're welcome. Next up, we're going to go to our next speaker, Mr. Shai Nolman, who is, and many things with us. He is an alumni of the Schulich School of Business in the IBBA program. He is an instructor teaching private equity and venture capital. He's been a mentor and a speaker and coach across all our different Schulich startups programs. And he's been deep into the Together mission for many years. He's also the founder of Montaro Capital. And today he'll be bringing greetings to everyone on behalf of all the mentors in the Together mission about his experience and speaking to the students. Shai, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks everyone for having me. It's such an honor to be back here, representing such an accomplished and distinguished group of mentors, and to have been chosen as their voices is a great privilege. So, thank you for that decision. As you know, one of the best things about this, having done this for many years, is that I kind of get to like figure out which time slot I'm in, and so I get to go right before the winners, which means that everyone's going to have to listen to this because nobody wants to miss the actual announcement. So thank you for your undivided attention. As Chris mentioned, I have many touch points to the Schulich School of Business. I'm an alumnus. I teach at the school. I'm an entrepreneur with one of the startups that is supported by Schulich and its ecosystem. I've also been a venture capitalist. I've worked on Bay Street. And so I'm going to try to bring a variety of perspectives to my comments as a mentor, but also wearing all of these multiple hats. And so I'll be speaking about three things, really. First, why is it that Schulich values entrepreneurship so much and how we find that it's such a force for good? Second, I'll be speaking about the Together mission and what an amazing program this is for all of these years in a row and why it's particularly important. And lastly, maybe some words of inspiration and advice for our entrepreneurs and our students so that they can take away and maybe have some granules to work on as they go through. So why is entrepreneurship so important to Schulich, and why do we see such a force for good? So entrepreneurship isn't just about economic gain. It's a vital force for social good, personal growth, and community building. It drives job creation, economic resilience, and this is a truth that is evident in Canada as it is in India and globally. And so by generating employment and fostering innovation, entrepreneurs like yourselves can make a direct positive impact by society, driving the technological advancements that benefit all of us, humanity as a whole, not just our companies, not just our communities, not just our schools, not just our organizations. And through these communities, especially here at Schulich Startups, we bring together not just enterprises, but investors and mentors and students and academics, government agencies, NGOs, to build an ecosystem that elevates everyone. Remember, it's not just about the startup, it's not just about the entrepreneur, it's the entire support structure behind it, one that is unique in every industry where it's usually just customers and suppliers. Right? And the Together mission embodies this beautifully, bringing together two nations to form one thriving community dedicated to meaningful impact. A little bit on a personal level, my personal entrepreneurial journey has been transformative and utterly positive for me. It's taught me to live intentionally, embrace hard work and courage, and shed any limiting beliefs that I may have had. I am the person I've always wanted to be because of my entrepreneurship journey. I'm driven by purpose, accountability, and a relentless commitment to both self-improvement and serving others. This path is challenging, but is also deeply fulfilling in character building. And it's these elements as to why Schulich values entrepreneurship so much. And specifically to the Together program, I can't say that every year I am blown away by the caliber of entrepreneurs involved in the Together mission. This year's group has been extraordinary. We've seen teams working on cancer screening innovations, technology for the visually impaired, solutions to reduce industrial pollution, and tools for improving water efficiency in agriculture. All deep, important global issues. These are ventures that don't just create economic value, they address issues that resonate in both Canada and India with global implications. This is more than just a competition. It is a collaborative platform that nurtures entrepreneurial talent, fosters cross-cultural connections, and empowers founders to tackle real-world problems. The diversity of thought and purpose-driven innovation I witness here each year fills me with immense pride and optimism that despite the challenges that we all collectively face, they are beatable through the strength of the entrepreneur and the community. This year's Together mission holds a special importance. At a time when diplomatic relations between Canada and India are somewhat strained, this program serves as a testament to the strength of the business, social, and personal ties that transcend any temporary political tension. The connections we're building here reinforce how much we can achieve together, irrespective of the political climate. A few words for the founders and students that are really at the heart of this initiative. You are at the forefront of change. You dedicate your time, energy, and resource to building something meaningful, not just for yourselves, but for the benefit of all. You face countless challenges, yet you persist with a vision that could lead to exceptional outcomes, not just for you, but for your communities and for society as a whole. And we as mentors see this in how hard you work to iterate on your work, how these decks transform, how these stories transform over the hours and days that you've put into it with very limited time to come up with something on the other hand that is just brilliant. This competition and the work you put in it is a microcosm for the businesses that you're building. Iteration, perseverance, vision, grit are all things that play into it. So as you move forward, remember that the tenacity, courage, creativity, compassion, and purpose are all skills you can cultivate. They are not innate. They can be practiced, perfected, mastered. Embody these qualities, and I have no doubt you can succeed, whether in this venture or the next. And I can tell you from personal experience and from the journeys of my fellow mentors, including the legendary Howard Lichman, which thank you for pairing me up with him again this year, that this path will shape you in profound ways. It has made us better individuals, personally, professionally, socially, and it will do the same for you. In closing, I really want to express my deepest gratitude to everyone that made this event possible. To our brilliant Indian partners, Dr. Prasad Madek, Chirag Shah, Namita Vikas, our industry and governmental partners, Naman Budio, Ankur Jain, Ajay Jain, Hiten Makim, Rishabh Gupta, Nina Gasa, to our Schulich hosts, Chris, Cherry Rose Tan, David Peters, and all the respective teams, the students and mentors, and most importantly, the rock star entrepreneurs who are at the center of all of this. Thank you. Thank you for setting yet another high water mark for this Together mission. It has been a privilege to be part of this journey with all of you.
Thank you, Shay. What an inspiring speech. I really loved it. Each word what you said was really so fitting. I was very excited when you said that this whole journey of entrepreneurship is character building. You said that, and I think that was something not generally heard about. I think it came from your heart, I could see. And this is really amazing message that you're given. Another important part, you said that collaborations do not have boundaries. And there could be some temporary political friction, so to say, but it's all beyond. And people still stay connected for a purpose. Thank you so much, Shay, for coming in and speaking today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for the hospitality and for making this event incredible.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming out, and also for everybody's here. You can see a little glimpse from Shai, the quality and the character and the nature of the instructors that we have teaching at the Schulich School of Business, and the passion that's there. Well, we're excited to let everybody know now that the judges are out. They've done their deliberations. I don't know if you know the term Donnybrook. It's kind of like a big brawl. It might have been a bit of a Donnybrook in the back in terms of them coming to their final conclusion. And so we're excited to get to that big moment. A reminder to everyone that the second place finisher will win 5,000 Canadian, that's 3 lakhs. And the first place finisher will be 10,000 Canadian, that's 6 lakhs. And to have some words for us, and also to let us know about who those winners before we hear from the judges and the teams themselves. is my friend Nina Gessa, Economic Development Officer from the City of Toronto. And Nina is a seasoned Economic Development Officer with entrepreneurial services and economic development and culture at the city. The city has been there for us from day one as a supporter, partner, and networker for us to make all this happen when we started 5 editions ago. So Nina, we're always happy to have the city here with us, and especially happy to see you, and everyone's excited to hear what you have to say.
Hi, Chris, thank you for that. And hello, everyone. A shout out to Dr. Prasad. I see you there. It's nice to see you again. I've only caught a short piece of some of the presentations this morning, but they were wonderful. Schulich has always brought together the best of entrepreneurship, and I'm happy to see that they are continuing with the Together program. We are strong supporters, and will continue to do so in the future because we can see the great collaborative work that's happening. The Together mission is a strong program, and it brings together really strong students and partners and mentors, and really helps to deepen the ties within our ecosystem, and helps to build really robust ecosystems on both sides of the ocean. To the mentors, the leadership, and the partners, a huge thanks for your participation. And just to the students, I just want to say thank you. You're leaving a really valuable and important, making a valuable and important contribution, and we recognize that and appreciate all of your work. I hope that you've had an opportunity to make really meaningful connections along the way, and I just want to commend your work and wish you continued success. With that, shall I start with announcing some of the winners, Chris?
Yes, please start with the runner-up, the second place finisher.
Okay, so the second place finisher of $5,000, which is 3 lakhs, goes to Onco.
Onco Alert, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Let's get them up on the stage here, Shrey, and also team members from Schulich and Jayanti. Your thoughts?
Oh my God, I'm lost for words. We were not expecting this because the judges didn't ask much questions. So I was in the chat like, did I mess up my presentation with Pareen? And she was like, no, you did good. And that has been the kind of support throughout this journey. Pareen, Shaina, they've been constantly with me at each step, just helping me through. Sometimes I get overworked, but the support has been phenomenal. And I'm so thankful to everyone, every person, mentors, even the judges today. They were very, I appreciate every feedback that I got.
Thank you. Pareen, do you want to add your thoughts on behalf of the Schulich team?
Thank you, Dr. Janti. And obviously, I just want to say thank you as well to the Together mission, to all the mentors who've been supporting us through and through, making themselves available, answering all the questions that we had. So appreciate that. And then of course, Onco Alert, Shayna and I really bought into the problem that they're trying to solve. I think it's for a great cause, and it's embedded, the social purpose is really embedded in their vision. And I really hope that one day they can bring this product to the market and help, save so many lives that they're, trying to save. So good luck, and it has been a pleasure supporting the team.
Shayna, what was your experience like?
I thought it was really interesting being able to apply everything we learned in class to like a real experience and offering the knowledge we had to Onco Alert. It was really exciting seeing it like become like a real pitch and refining what we could and hearing the feedback and continuing to improve when we could. And it was really, I loved working with Janti and her team, and it was really exciting to work with the mentors, hear what the mentors had to offer. Yeah, overall, really great experience.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing. Judges, did any one of you want to have a comment for the team?
I can go first. I think you guys are missionary founders, great founder market fit. I particularly felt your tech was very differentiated, and it addresses a very crucial gap in the market that you described. And I think on a lot of fronts, you're thinking very deeply and correctly on whether it be on GTM, how to sort of like crack government programs, how to reach on ground, who's the consumer persona. So I think on a lot of fronts, it was, it went well. And yeah, you guys are onto something. So all the best for the future.
Thank you. Other judges, you don't have to jump in. That was very well said. But any other quick comments?
Yeah, I thought it was super educational on, the problem at hand and, identifying, where this opportunity was and kind of tackling it. So I found it educational. It's always love to learn something new on a Sunday. It's great. It was very inspirational.
Wonderful. Congratulations again. And we'll look forward to celebrating you online. And Shrey will get connected with you in terms of your prize as well, too. So thanks for the time. Okay, Nina, now the next big and key moment is the champion for the Together Mission 5.0.
Well, I'm honored to be able to name the winners here. I wish I had a drum roll, but I don't. But the second prize, or first prize rather, goes for $10,000. 6 lakhs goes to Proton Craft.
Congratulations to Proton Craft, and we will bring them on stage with us here one at a time and bring members of the Schulich team as well if we can, and then get to have their comments. I know Shrey is working on putting that together. Awesome. Okay, Proton Craft, each of you can have a moment to tell us how you're feeling and what you think. You're the champions. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
We
you
are
very
feeling
much.
good. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can say a few things. So this is incredible. First of all, massive congratulations to Kunal and Rithik. I think the work they've done over the past couple of years really speaks for itself. They've put together an incredible product and got some incredible traction so far. So I'd love to take more credit, but we just sort of came in the last week and helped them sort of refine the pitch deck a little bit. But obviously, 100% of the credit goes to them. I think in this day and age, in the age of energy transition, a solution like this has never really been more important. If we can find a way for large actors in the oil industry to become more profitable while also becoming significantly more green and reducing their sort of their toxic output, that's sort of an ideal situation, and these guys have managed to find that solution somehow. So again, massive congratulations to them. And yeah, really excited to see what the future holds for these guys.
Thanks for sharing the Schulich perspective. And guys from Proton Craft, your experience and how you're feeling.
It was like really unexpected for us because there was very tough competition. I see like a lot of great startups coming out there, and we expected like, okay, we did our best. Let's see like what will happen. But all kudos to like my team members like Ritik. Even when I blundered in somewhere in pitch, he takes off from there. So it was like really good coordination between us, and also we were like we started a year back, and we had a traction this much, and also we had an opportunity to represent India somewhere like in London. So it was like really nice feeling. Also winning this competition is like a landmark event for all of us. And I think Ritik, you want to?
Ritik, did you want to jump in as well too?
Fine.
You're good. You're just happy. It's great to see your smile. I can tell you're in a good mood, so that's good. Your smile says 1,000 words.
Also, sorry, quickly wanted to say thank you to Jennifer and Karen as well for all of their help over the past week. It's been super helpful to have their perspective on things and have their input. So massive thanks to them as well.
Wonderful. Okay, and judges, your thoughts?
I think a well-rounded team, amazing problem to solve, right? And the fact that they already have some uh, interest from the market is, I think, what tilted the scales, right? So that was how we got to the decision making, though it was not easy for us to get to the decision. I think great team and a problem that needs to be solved, and I think they're in the right path. So yeah, all the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Great team. I think a lot of times you have a great idea, but it's not validated with actual customers. And so, we think the LOI was, important and showed validation for, where your hypothesis and theory was. It's always proven by customers. So.
Isha?
No, I totally echo what Naman and Ajay said. And great team. I think you guys have cracked something. I mean, there is clearly the depth to the tech you have cracked to get a customer or a letter of intent from very big established players. So good job.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. And Nina, before you go away, just want to again say thank you to the City of Toronto and yourselves for helping us to make this happen. I imagine that you're, proud having like watched the journey of this from competition number 1 to competition number 5. People have been remarking and messaging me in the background saying, "Wow, these companies are really like, moving forward in a big way." And any closing thoughts from you? Oh, you're on mute there.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, just thanks to you and your team, Chris. You guys do a fantastic job every year. We're always amazed at the caliber of work and effort that goes into pulling this event together. And just kudos to all of the entrepreneurs who have participated in this process. You really are leaving an indelible mark in terms of the work that you're doing, and we thank you all for that. Again, thanks to everybody, and we were happy to be here today, and continued success.
Thank you. Thank you, judges, and thank you to our mentors and students, both in India and Canada, all our sponsors and supporters. This brings us to the edge of the close, as we say here, for the championship event. And Dr. Prasad, I'd like to invite you to offer some closing words before I wrap up.
Thanks, Chris. It so happens not by design, but both the winners have some connect the kind of work they do. For example, Iron Exchange, I saw the name of Ajay Popat. He's a very old, good friend of mine, and we just met last week. It's exciting for me to see that Ajay is involved in such a great venture. We also, I'm sure that you guys do connect with me because we're doing a big clean hydrogen program with the World Bank in India, and having you into those conversations will be very important. And Jayanti, I work closely with this company, STEM, Dr. Manjari Bakre from Bangalore. She runs that startup for breast cancer early detection. And I would love to connect you with Manjari as well. I'm sure that's going to help you a lot. So pleasure to be here today, Chris. It was worth the Sunday morning. Sitting here right now in Washington, D.C., same time zone. But I love to listen to everybody. And thank you, Chris, again, and to Together team for a wonderful program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. Now, closing words for myself. First of all, to the champions. Today is a glorious day. Celebrate it, enjoy it, embrace it, revel in it, and make sure you boldly share the story with the world. Go online, tell them about your win. Many years, the champions have come back and talked about how celebrating that and telling people about it spread and led to all sorts of unintended connections and possibilities that they didn't see coming after they were announced and shared their story of winning the championship. Number two, make sure that with the connections that you've made through the program, you take the time to connect to your mentors and thank them personally, to the students. You don't know who and where they're going to travel and connect with, and your appreciation will go a long way to even further having them be emotionally connected to what you're working on. One of the very earliest lessons that I learned as a young entrepreneur, when I was introduced to my very first client, and I forgot to say thank you to the person who did it. I just moved on and like did the work. And they called me up one day and called me out on it. And I never forgot how the expression and the celebration of appreciation for those around us impacts and carries forward in all sorts of important ways. So take the time to do that. To those of you who were in the top 6, but not in the top 2, to those of you who were in the top 10, but we're not in the top 6, just remember the fact, 2 things. Hundreds of applications, 40 companies, down to 10, down to 6, down to 2. All of those were very tough and excruciating decisions for judges along the way. And the scoring is such that sometimes it's a 0.25 of a mark that is separating people. So this was like a really hard-fought battle of the top 10 for the top 6. There are companies that were right on the edge in 7 and 8 that could have come in and made a dynamite performance here today as well. So just remember that you've done amazing to get this far. And number 2, I will share with you that each year at the Schulich Startup Night competition, which is now about to this spring be in its 20th edition. So we're here at 5.0 with Together Mission, but we're at 20.0 with the Schulich Startup Night. And it is not always, although I wish the champion and the runner-up nothing but success, I will tell you that it is not always the champion who becomes the largest or most successful company. Because this is one moment in time, and now it's what you do tomorrow with the knowledge and the learning and the network that you've built through the competition and through the opportunity. And, you have every chance, just like the top 2 companies, to go far and make your dreams come true and make all of us proud. We'll look forward to inviting you back into the classroom, as we talked about, for future classes and future competitions. You will be our speakers, and you are carrying forward the Together mission, and we appreciate you for that. I want to close with a final word and a final note of appreciation again, how I opened the opening ceremonies, to thank and to remember our good friend and supporter, Mr. Ratan Tata, and the universe rest his soul in peace, and say what a fine, upstanding world citizen, thinker, and big-hearted, caring, kind visionary he was for all he did in the world, and also how he inspired in the origins of this Together mission, inspired myself, inspired my team, inspired the Schulich School of Business to see and embrace the startup bridge between our 2 countries. And we know that somewhere in the world, whether you believe it's his energy or whether you believe he's looking down on us with his eyes, he's happy today to see those of you who delivered such an incredible performance as startups, because this was his dream, to see this continue to happen and see this flourish. And so in doing your great work today, you honor that dream. So we remember him. We say thank you. We wish everyone a great evening, a good sleep. And for those of you who got up early in Toronto, feel free to go back to bed and give yourself a rest. And we will see you all down the road. Thank you, Dr. Prasad, and thank you to the team, Shrey, and everybody involved.
We're just hanging back here if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, we'll